Right, we are calling the meeting to order. Good evening. My name is Elba Gonzalez Mares, and this is the Napa Valley Unified School District Board of Education. The NVUSD Board of Education is holding a special virtual board meeting. Tonight's meeting is not a formal business meeting, but rather a new type of meeting we conduct twice a year, strictly dedicated to celebrating the outstanding work being implemented at our NVUSD schools. You can join via Zoom. The open session part of the meeting agenda begins now at 6 p.m. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Elba González Mares y esta es la Mesa de Educación del Distrito Escolar Unificado del Valle de Napa, NVUSD por sus siglas en inglés. La Mesa de Educación de NVUSD está llevando a cabo una reunión virtual especial. La reunión de esta noche no es una reunión de negocios formal, sino más bien un nuevo tipo de reunión que realizaremos 2 veces al año, estrictamente dedicada a celebrar el trabajo sobresaliente que está implementando en nuestras escuelas del NVUSD. Puede unirse a través de Zoom. La parte de la sesión abierta de la agenda de la reunión comienza ahora a las 6 de la tarde. Interpretation in Spanish is available for tonight's virtual board meeting. To access interpretation from a computer, click on the interpretation icon on the bottom of your screen from within the Zoom application. On a mobile device, click on the More button on the bottom of your screen and choose Language Interpretation from within the Zoom application. This is a separate channel that will allow you to hear English to Spanish translation concurrently. Please note, interpretation services are not available when you join our meeting by calling in. Our interpreters for tonight's meeting are Marcy Valdivieso and Paul Huertas. May we have one of the interpreters please translate these directions on our English channel so our Spanish-speaking families can hear the instructions.
Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a la Junta Especial o la reunión especial de la Junta de Educación. Hay servicios de interpretación disponibles en español. Para acceder a ellos, por favor, haga clic en la parte inferior o superior de la pantalla sobre el mapa mundi, seleccione los servicios de interpretación y español.
Gracias.
De nada.
Can we please start with an attendance roll call from Vera Morales, Executive Assistant?
Yes. Student board member,
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares,
Present?
Trustee Jankowicz,
Present.
Trustee Gracia,
Present.
Trustee Reiser,
Present.
Trustee Water,
Present.
Trustee Shu,
Present.
Trustee Dooley.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. Thank you for joining us tonight for our Napa Valley Unified School District Board meeting. Public participation remains virtual, online only. This meeting tonight is in accordance with the open meeting rules in the state of California per Assembly Bill 361. We now move to call the meeting to order. First item of the agenda is our flag salute, and I'd like to welcome tonight our student board representative, our alternate, and I welcome Jimena Alvarez Parra to our meeting and who will lead us in the flag salute. So Jimena, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to your first board meeting. Next item is our announcement. This meeting is recorded for live streaming and archiving on the district YouTube channel. For a detailed review of any meeting agenda item, the archive video can be referenced, located on the district webpage at nvusd.org. The public can join the virtual board meeting remotely via Zoom. We now move to approval of agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
A first by Trustee Gracia, a second by Trustee Dooley. Student Board Rep.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose or abstain? Fantastic, thank you. All right, we're now going into our presentations. Celebrating our school's board meeting are a new tradition and practice in the Napa Valley Unified School District in alignment with NVUSD Strategic Plans Goal 3, Communication, Community Engagement, and Advocacy, and Goal 6, Strategic, Impactful Governance. We are in a second year of implementing the new governance practice. Every October and April, we will provide a subset of our schools an opportunity to share and celebrate with the board and public their improvements, their progress, and their accomplishments at the site level as they create excellent educational opportunities for NVUSD students and implement the district's comprehensive strategic plan. Fellow trustees, I ask that we move through the school presentations with brief comments and or expressions of gratitude or recognition in between, and that we save lengthier comments on the full board, from the full board, for the segment of the agenda item 7. Comments from board members. Item 7, which is comments of board members. We do not want to keep our school teams here too late. Tonight, it is a school night, right, after all. Tonight is our third celebrating our school's board meeting, where we welcome all of our selected schools who will be presenting. Please join me, the superintendent, and the NVUSD school board in celebrating the amazing work happening in NVUSD. We have been called to order and conducted our attendance roll call. We will go forward with our agenda. Now I would like to invite Principal Janine Burt and her team to kick us off with a presentation from Bel Air Park Magnet Elementary School.
President Gonzalez-Mendes, we'll have a little bit of these lulls as they transition to the slides and video. So just give our tech team here a moment.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Musetti, board trustees, staff, and community members. We are very happy to have this opportunity to share and celebrate our school with you this evening. Joining me is Jennifer Burns, our Magnet instructional coach for media and technology. And we're also including some other voices from our school through a couple of videos that we have to show you coming up. Next slide. First, we want to just kick off tonight by saying we are so happy to be fully in person back this year. Even with the challenges, school is a happy place to be right now. And we're so excited that we get to have our students back in person. I also want to acknowledge our amazing staff. It takes a huge measure of commitment to be a teacher and a school employee right now, and an extra measure to work at an IB school. And so I'm just really appreciative and thankful for all of our staff and the hard work that they do each day. Next slide. So to understand our story for tonight's presentation, I just wanted to give you a little brief history. This is a timeline of our school's history. And what I wanted to point out was that back in the 90s, an alternative school was formed and was housed here at Bel Air. And so for about 15 years, we had 2 schools sharing one campus. And over time, those schools became completely segregated, not only demographically, but also programmatically. And so one of the main reasons our district initially applied for the 2010 federal magnet grant was to try to bring balance of diversity to our schools, and specifically at Bel Air, to unite those two schools into one new school that would provide equitable access to high quality instruction and programs for all students. Next slide. So in 2010, the new Bel Air Park Magnet School was created, and we started the process to become an IB school. I could spend probably all my time and everybody else's talking about this program, but I will try to quickly convey some of the highlights of International Baccalaureate. First, we're trying to become internationally minded, and that means that we learn through different perspectives and languages. We're all about transforming lives, but not just our own. We believe that the purpose of education is to use our knowledge and skills to make a better, more peaceful world. Our stance for instruction is inquiry, which is about kids asking lots of questions, researching, exploring, discovering their passions. And then we really emphasize student agency, where students use their voice and own their learning. Next slide. This is our IB learner profile, which is the heart of our program and our mission in action. These 10 attributes are what we're striving to become. They are part of the daily language of our school and also in the homes of our families. These attributes are common to all people. And so if our students develop these attributes, it will help them to be successful anywhere in the world. Next slide. So this is a very condensed version of our curriculum framework. It's based on 6 broad universal themes that all IB schools share. But then we as a school develop 6 units of inquiry at each grade level that are based on timeless and universal concepts that are integrated with our California state standards. Next slide. So I have a short video I'd like to show you that shows what a typical unit of inquiry looks like. This is a 3rd grade one. And we call it transdisciplinary because it integrates across different subject areas, so to make it more meaningful for our students. So Jordan, you want to cue the video?
So our current unit of inquiry is called Healthy Habits, and the central idea is that food and exercise choices may determine our health. First of all, we went on a field trip to Whole Foods so that they could kind of explore different healthy foods, read labels, find things that had whole grains in them, and different maybe fruits and vegetables they had never seen before. So that was a really exciting way to kick off the unit. For the last week or so, we've been getting more into what do kids need to eat? What are the food groups? And then the last couple days, a really exciting topic for them, which is sugar, something they're all really excited to learn about. And so we've been reading some articles and having some great discussions about is sugar healthy? Is it not healthy? How much sugar should kids have?
What are some of the things you guys are thinking about as you read this article?
2015, and then in the 2020, whole grains like brown rice, oatmeal, and whole grain bread and cereal are the way product against diabetes and heart disease. It's important to tear and meat and so on, because if you have heart disease, it's gonna be hard, and if you get diabetes, you'll get sick. Yeah.
In terms of being transdisciplinary, they're reading articles, reading with partner, doing a lot of talking about the things that seem important for them to know, things that they're wondering about, questions they have, and really working together to talk about this topic. But the great thing about it is that they're all researching and learning about the same thing, and so they're all really excited and engaged when we're having discussions, especially when people have differing opinions. And so we have some really good conversations that I think just lift the level of understanding and engagement for everyone. The next thing we're going to do is find out how much sugar is in the things that kids like to drink, so soft drinks and juice and Gatorade and water and those kinds of things. So we bring a little bit of math into it where they're having to kind of do some conversions and figure out grams to teaspoons and those sorts of things. and work with a partner to figure that out or work with a little group.
It's helping me to be an inquirer because I can write stuff that I've never heard about and learn new things every day. And I learned that spinach has iron, so it helps your blood in your body. After I have dinner, I would usually have a treat, but now I start eating vegetables after instead because I looked at the ingredients and it had a lot of sugar in it.
The IB program has really helped us as a family to think outside the box. It's really helped my children grow and be very independent and confident in themselves. Them to ask questions and not be afraid and be thinkers and knowledgeable about everything that goes on, because it's not just what's going around in our home or in our community, but about what really is going around in the world and how we can help and make it better for everybody.
Okay, next slide. Good evening, and thank you for inviting us to present. In 2017, Bel Air Magnet School added a communication and media theme. This theme has 3 strands: global communication, artistic communication, and interpersonal communication. I'm going to highlight a few of the additions to our school. Next slide. So here we have an online personality teaching broadcasting skills to our students. And later in the week, those same students were live on KVON radio using those skills. We have a weekly podcast that students write and produce. We often use green screen technology to allow students to share their thinking creatively. We have several global surveys that give students live data, and they develop the questions, and we're able to, the live data is able to answer those questions. We also have an online art gallery that we're able to show their work. And now, Jordan, if I'm able to, I'd like to share my screen.
Sure, I will stop sharing.
Thanks. Okay, so here I have a student using the green putty idea to share her math thinking. And our current global survey is for the Healthy Habits unit. And so this adds some global research, where just yesterday we had somebody from Uzbekistan answer our questions and send photos. And then the students are, after they get their data, they're able to analyze that data using word clouds, looking at photos from food around the world, pie charts. The data is also put out on maps for them to look at. And each year, our 5th graders have a photography unit. So since we were not able to come on campus, we did an online art gallery. And it was just amazing what the students can do with photography skills, editing skills, and an iPad. Okay, Jordan, I'm going to stop sharing. We can go back to the slides. Do we have our slides? There we go. Next slide. So our art and clay teachers work closely with classroom teachers to develop art pieces that work well with their units. For instance, we have a wall hanging that was inspired by Wayne Higby, and this has worked beautifully with the 4th grade landforms unit. This is another example of how our units are transdisciplinary. Okay, next slide.
Okay, back to me. These are our goals that we work toward as a magnet school, and I'm very proud to say that we met or exceeded the expectations in each of these categories prior to the pandemic. Now coming back, we've got to start building again to get back to where we need to be based on our current reality. In addition to the success we've had with student achievement, we're also really happy to share that in the 1920 school year, we finally achieved the balance of diversity goal, and our school now closely matches the demographics of our Napa community. Next slide. Last year during COVID, we had some big concerns about our students' level of independence and stamina. And it just happened to coincide with IB's launch of a new revision of our program with an emphasis on student agency. So we took on an action research project last spring, and I have a little mini documentary to share with you about our project. Next slide, Jordan. Thank you. As a school, we've been thinking and talking about agency for a while, but we knew that we needed to go deeper. And then March of 2020 hit. The kids were out of school for several months, and when they came back, we were really concerned because in some cases the kids had gotten very dependent on the caregiver at home, whoever was helping them. The kids wouldn't even attempt to do the work at school. So this was so different from what we'd come to expect from our kids, and we knew that we needed to do something to change the direction. To get started, our team met for several weeks and started thinking about what we could do to promote agency at our school. We looked at several resources, we read some articles, and we thought about what strategies we could use, how we could change our language, and how we could get the kids involved in these conversations too, about what is agency, what does it look like, how do I show it?
Some of the ways I promoted agency in the classroom were, first of all, just explaining what agency was and how important it is in their learning. I put it out to them to just ask them, how can you be a stronger learner? What are things you like to learn about? Letting them know that we want to hear their voice and that they will have choice.
I would make a mistake and I would say that, I wonder if that was my best mistake today. And so later on in class, if a child made a mistake, he or she would say, that was my best mistake. So not to fear mistakes.
She always says trust yourself, and she also says never give up.
So some of the changes that I noticed was increased confidence that the students had in either exploring with writing, exploring with apps. They got more and more creative, how they showed their learning or what they knew.
And they were so excited to show up, you know, whether it was on Zoom or in person, and they always came with a plan. They went as far as to say, can we just plan our entire day?
We were not surprised to see that the students celebrated their agency the most when they were in their units of inquiry. So we designed these units to be places where students can ask questions, experiment, and that's where the agency really came through. It really is about naming and noticing for them when something is happening. And what we found was that they actually were showing agency quite a bit already. They just didn't know it. And so the kids were more and more able to call it out and say, you know, I made that happen. I did that for myself.
We've been working on this as a staff for several months, and just to feel the buzz and see the excitement and swap stories with other teachers has really been the fulfilling part, to know that what we're actually doing is working in our classroom.
I felt like we were able to capture the essence of learning, which is to find joy in learning.
Mostly we use agency from our heart, and we make our own decisions. You get to have freedom with helping, and it's going to make the world a better place. I think agency is you can be free and make your own choices, and you kind of feel more like yourself if you do that.
Through the course of my research, I've really come to know why agency is so important. It's really fundamental to our well-being. We need to know that what we do matters. And it's knowing that we have the capability of making something happen. We don't want our students to get to 18 and say, okay, now I'm leaving school, I can finally do something with my life. They should be practicing this all along. Young children have such a capacity for empathy and compassion. And so now is really the time for them to practice that and to feel like I'm capable, I can do something, to have those experiences where they see something good come from the learning and the skills that they have.
I think sometimes agency means like if you could help the world, you would know there's all good people, but they're good, but they're not doing good because you could be good, but you just have to just do something.
Thanks, Jordan. So that leads us to our theme for this fall, which is reconnecting and reawakening. And we spent this first few weeks listening and learning from the experience of the last year and a half, and are doing our best to bring back that spark of curiosity and excitement for learning. Next slide. We set out to do this through playing together and getting our classroom communities talking and sharing their thinking again, and really emphasizing the inquiry and letting them have hands-on experiences and lots of exploration, things that we couldn't do during the shutdown. Next slide. So our school-wide goals for 21-22 are, again, a focus on inquiry. That also helps us with our math instruction, which is inquiry-based. And really, we're feverishly working to improve reading through leveled instruction for all of our students. And then this year we have our self-study process. It's kind of like WASC for the high schools. And so this is what we do to prepare for our evaluation visit, which will happen next year. So this is our preparation year. And then to further develop our MTSS process to support the needs of our students. Next slide. So just some highlights of our MTSS team so far this year. We're serving 83 students in intervention in addition to what they're receiving in the classroom. This is about double the number of students that we normally serve in this kind of intensive level, but it just is where we are with and what the work is right now for accelerating learning. And we're working toward supporting all those students with social and emotional needs. Next slide. So I would like to just close with this quote. This quote inspired our theme for this year, and it comes from the late Maxine Green, who from Harvard, who's one of my educator heroes. And this quote hangs in all of our classrooms, someplace near the teacher's workspace to remind us what we're trying to achieve. All we can do is to speak with others as passionately and eloquently as we can. All we can do is to look into each other's eyes and urge each other on to new beginnings. Our classrooms ought to be nurturing and thoughtful and just all at once. They ought to pulsate with multiple conceptions of what it is to be human and alive. They ought to resound with the voices of articulate young people in dialogues always incomplete, because there is always more to be discovered and more to be said. We must want our students to achieve friendship as each one stirs to wide awakeness, to imaginative action, and to a renewed consciousness of possibility. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate the opportunity to share with you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Principal Burt, and to the team at Bel Air Park Magnet Elementary School. Brief comments from the board? A lot of smiles under our masks, just so you know. Trustee Chu, please.
So I love the idea of my best mistake.
Yes.
Because, I think most people worry about making mistakes, but that's when we learn and that's when we grow. So I'm going to use that next time, starting tomorrow. What is my best mistake today? And I will teach it to my children. So thank you very much for showing me that.
Yes, and
I agree with you, and I also wrote down, you can be good, but you have to do something. And that's a great lesson for us all. And thank you. Thank you for Jennifer Burns for putting the show together. It was really instructive.
Okay, I didn't know we were going to make comments now. So I wrote down that I love how inquiry is woven into all aspects of the learner profile, and that students are given the freedom to explore and find their own voice in the learning process. And that's powerful because it's powerful for them now, and it's powerful for them going forward in their future. So thank you very much for your presentation.
All right. Okay.
I would just add, I really enjoyed the emphasis on agency, both because you were responding to the conditions that you were seeing, the way the kids regressed a little bit in their kind of confidence and independence. And just the way that was framed and is so empowering and such an important life skill. So I really appreciated that as well. That the one photo that said, how can you use your voice to make change? Which is just such a beautiful idea to be introducing and exploring with kids at this age. So great presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just finish by saying I appreciate also very much the recording of the students' voices. So thank you for bringing that to the room, because otherwise they would be here telling us. And so thank you. It was really heartening to hear it from them. All right, we will continue with our next school, and that's Northwood Elementary School with Principal Suzanne Flint, please.
Good evening, Dr. Musetti, NVUSD Board of Trustees, District Office Personnel, and Community. My name is Suzanne Flint, and I'm the very proud principal of Northwood Elementary School. It's an honor and a pleasure to have the opportunity this evening to share some highlights of our wonderful school. Next slide, please. When I was first hired as the principal of Northwood Elementary School in the spring of 2020, I felt like I had won the lottery. My happiness, pride, enthusiasm, and respect for working within Northwood and NVUSD communities has only grown since that time. Northwood School is a wonderful community of educators, students, and parents dedicated to working together as a team to promote student success. This evening, I'd like to share with you my top 10 components that make Northwood Elementary School a great place to learn and grow. Next slide, please. The first wonderful component of Northwood is the entire reason that we come to school with smiles, with plans, and with goals every single day. It's our amazing students. Our students demonstrate enthusiasm, cooperation, motivation, and engagement in each of their learning activities. In addition to witnessing the teaching and learning that happens in our classrooms, I also enjoy being outside with students and getting to know them during recess and lunch times. Here you can see some of the fun things that we're able to do with students now that we are teaching and learning on campus. Our kindergarten parents set up an outdoor pumpkin patch a few weeks ago, and each kindergarten student was able to choose a pumpkin to take home. All of our fifth grade students were invited to participate in student leadership facilitated by two teachers, Marcia Smith and Jill Sickler. This leadership group plans school-wide activities such as our dress-up days, including our superhero dress-up day. We also have pairs of fifth graders who do the morning announcements with me every single morning. And they especially like when they get to tell the joke of the day. Next slide, please. I'd also like to take the opportunity to let you know how proud I am of our students' academic achievement, as shown in our performance thus far in the Star Renaissance assessments. These assessments are given in the fall, winter, and spring every year. And we just started implementing this last year. Our very youngest students in kindergarten and first grade take their STAR early literacy and then transition to STAR reading as their reading skills develop. 55% of our students who took the STAR Early Literacy Assessment and 68% of our students who took the STAR Reading Assessment scored at the proficient or above range. I'm especially proud of our STAR Math scores, on which 73% of our students scored in the proficient or above range. We're focusing on daily number corner activities in order to deepen student thinking and learning about math. We use the STAR Renaissance data as one source of information that guides instruction and improves student learning. Students who need extra support are able to access it within their classrooms through working with the teacher and or an instructional aide and or our interventionist, depending on their need. We anticipate that our student skills will continue to grow over the course of this school year and look forward to analyzing the winter and spring assessment results. Next slide, please. The third component of what makes Northwood a great place to grow and learn is our amazing teachers and staff members. All teachers are organized into one of 3 leadership groups: our AVID committee, our Best Climate and Community Committee, and our Culture and Climate Committee. These groups meet monthly and they plan focused activities, promote effective strategies, and facilitate valuable professional learning within the structure of our faculty meetings. We are so proud to be an AVID elementary school, to have clear and consistent expectations, and to have such a positive campus culture and climate for all students and staff. We all recognize all means all, and everybody is included. Teachers meet weekly within their professional learning communities in order to collaborate regarding curriculum, lesson planning, assessment data, the use of effective strategies, and of course, resolution of concerns. Our site leadership team also meets on a monthly basis, and it's instrumental in planning long and short-term school goals for the school year. We create our vision for the year in August and then work together to implement each of the details throughout the school year. Next slide, please. I'd like to give a special shout out to our amazing special education staff. I have the pleasure of working with a dedicated, flexible, creative, and professional team that collaborates and communicates consistently in order to meet student needs. We have students who receive support from a wide variety of specialists and have 3 special day classes that provide support to those who are developing their functional skills. I'd also like to let you know how much I appreciate the high level of support and problem-solving assistance from our special ed department at the district level, particularly Erica Mayer, who works as our elementary special education coordinator. You can see here we have a lot of fun in addition to our teaching and learning activities. Our 3 special day class teachers have adopted the theme of just keep swimming for this school year. And so they even had t-shirts made. It's very fun. Next slide, please. Northwood wouldn't be the wonderful place it is without the incredible level of support from our parents. Our amazing parents advocate for and support their own students' learning, along with advocating and supporting the entire school community. Our Parent Faculty Club, known as our PFC, supports invaluable learning experiences that promote the development of the whole child. This includes our supplementary art and physical education experiences. In order to provide this level of support, our PFC has implemented creative and successful ways to fundraise even throughout the pandemic. I'm in awe of the success of our Jogathon this fall, which raised almost $35,000. I've never known a Jogathon that has raised that much money before. Both our School Site Council and English Learner Advisory Committee are comprised of a dedicated group of parents who support and guide our school's goals and the use of our resources. Another group of parents organized a cleanup day on the public property that leads to our campus entrance through Pueblo Vista. Another contribution of Northwood parents has been the creation and installation of 2 beautiful new murals that were created completely by 2 parents who also happen to be art teachers, Christy Crickmore and Amy Heidenreich. Next slide, please. We have our MTSS team in place for the 2nd year in a row. It is comprised of our interventionist, Erica Reeves, parent community liaison, Sylvia Angel, social worker, Maricela Centeno, school psychologist, Shannon Church, and me. We meet every Monday and we review a variety of data points in order to address the social, emotional, behavioral, and academic needs of our students. And our goal is always to ensure that no student falls through the cracks. Next slide, please. We also very much appreciate the support of 4 district programs that benefit our students: physical education, music, library, and before and after school childcare. Our students enjoy their learning experiences and also form additional positive connections with more adults in our caring community. Next slide, please. Another component that makes Northwood a great place to learn and grow is our flexibility and our willingness to jump in and immerse ourselves in new experiences that benefit our school community. Our newest adventure is pooled COVID testing on Mondays. Our first pooled testing event was on October 11th, and we started with approximately 120 participants. Since that time, more students and staff have registered. And at this time, we have about 150 members of our school community who are participating in this weekly event. We're happy to be piloting this opportunity following the lead of Willow Elementary. And I'd like to give a shout out to Gina DeLuca in our Human Resources Department, who's generously shared her expertise in organizing and implementing pooled testing in partnership with Concentric Labs. And I have to tell you, we've had all negative results every week. And so that's been a really nice message that I can send out to our community. Another new opportunity that we've embraced is the implementation of the 12 toolbox tools at every grade level. We can already see the benefits of using common language and common strategies throughout our school to demonstrate resilience, empathy, and kindness. Next slide, please. Thank you. Who in the world would have predicted that I'd be so excited about HVAC? Our school was renovated during the summer and fall of 2020, including new heating, ventilating, and air conditioning throughout the classrooms, in addition to new paint, new roofing, and many new windows. Work is still being done during this school year on the gates and fencing around our school to ensure that all of our students are safe throughout their school day. Our custodial staff, along with our district operations and district and maintenance staff, does a wonderful job to keep our campus clean and tidy looking. It's a gift to work in an environment that has so many sparkling and new qualities. Next slide, please. We've already arrived at number 10. I truly appreciate all of the support that we at Northwood receive from the staff of the district office. There's a go-to person for every question, situation, or problem-solving experience. It's wonderful to be part of this team of brilliant, funny, helpful, and hardworking professionals. Next slide, please. And thank you very much, Dr. Musetti, board trustees, district office staff, and Northwood community for everything that you do to make Northwood School a great place to learn and grow. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Principal Flint. Seeing any comments at this moment? Yeah, Trustee Water.
I haven't visited Northwood in a while, but I have to get back. It is a campus that is nothing but positive. People are happy to be there, smiling faces. And I like the idea of testing being used to guide instruction instead of, punishing people. This is the best use of testing. And I want to thank you for recognizing Gina DeLuca, who I think has done a wonderful job for our district. So I'll be back to visit.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you, Principal Flint, and good to see you again. I have the pleasure of being on campus to pick up my son at most days. So this was a good representation of the sense that you get when you go to Northwood, and what I appreciate, and this is when I was on the site council with Principal Flint's predecessor, the teacher committees and leadership groups and the collaboration that staff has on campus is remarkable and very evident by the culture that the kids experience. So I think it's a great experience for the students, and I know staff is happy with it too. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I appreciate your celebration of Northwood through your 10 puzzle pieces that fit perfectly to support your students. I especially appreciate number 8 and number 9. When you believe your school is special and beautiful and a magical place for your students, that is infectious, and it enhances school culture. I also love the willingness to take on new things. That is a principle of learning in the classroom and beyond. So thank you, Northwood Elementary and Principal Flynn. Thanks.
So I haven't visited Northwood, but I wanted to share a little bit of my experience during the pandemic year of distance learning. I was trying to figure out, which schools were doing what. So I went on Facebook to see, and lo and behold, Principal Flint comes out with a daily Facebook message for all of her students. I was so impressed with that level of commitment to engage the families during that time. So I just want to say that was a great first impression of the school, and everything you presented today really, it is very consistent with that. So thank you very much.
I just want to agree with my fellow trustees on what they've said, and thank you for just such a comprehensive presentation. And I really liked the 10, as Trustee Jankowicz said, the puzzle pieces, just really recognizing how nothing works unless they all work. And from the campus being maintained beautifully to the teachers collaborating so beautifully and their commitment to students, and the Measure H dollars at work, giving the students and teachers and staff, the appropriate filtration that we need right now. And again, it's clear how passionate you are and how much you love your school, and that's just so key to creating a positive climate for learning. So it's really lovely presentation. Thank you so much. And I haven't visited your campus yet, but it's on my list. So I hope to be there soon.
Principal Flint, if any of the trustees go out to your school for a visit, you have to make sure that they potentially do the joke of the day, because that's really fun over at Northwood. So it's been a little too long since I did the joke of the day there, so I'll be back this year.
I'm already laughing. I don't even know the joke yet. So thank you so much for the presentation. All right, we are now moving, and then, we'll have more comments at the end. We're going to move on to Phillips Magnet Elementary School with Principal Julie Jones. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Musetti, NVUSD board trustees, and community members. It gives me great pleasure this evening to present you with a taste of Phillips Magnet Elementary School. And to help me with this, I would like to introduce you to my team: Debbie Baldwin, Magnet Lead Teacher, Jen Ellison, Magnet Coach, 4th grade teacher Shauna Cadell, and 2 celebrities on the Phillips campus, Phil and Chili. Next slide, please.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Philip Matthew Eagle, or you can just call me Phil. I'm a proud part of our Phillips family. And I'm Chili T. Pegwood, or Chili the Pegwood. Both Phil and I work very hard to teach our Phillips students how to be thoughtful leaders and learners. That's right, buddy. We believe that leaders innovate and make the world a better place. Yup. And leaders do that by being critical thinkers, designers, artists, engineers, and showing their creativity in all kinds of ways. Welcome to our wonderful school. Keep leading and keep learning.
Next slide, please.
Oh, sorry, you want to, yeah, thank you. We are leaders at Phillips with our magnet focus on leadership, engineering, and art design. We reinforce our beliefs with chance and our daily commitment to excellence. In August, Kevin Bracey came back to Phillips to help us kick off this year by reminding students of their greatness.
Don't stop. Innovators. Each one. Who are we? Greatness clap. Greatness clap. One more time. Come on, hold up. Let us put some greatness in it. Don't stop. Innovators. Each one. Who are we? Greatness clap. Greatness clap. You are so awesome. You are so brilliant. We believe in you. We love you. You matter. Thank you for singing with me. Everybody say, I'm awesome. I'm awesome. Have a great day. Have a great day. Thank you for singing with me. Have a great day. You're so awesome. Sing it, don't stop.
We are leaders and innovators with the goal to improve ourselves and our community by being respectful, responsible, safe, and kind scholars.
Anyone who has a chance to peek into our classroom will see students engaged in magnet theme instruction. Students are provided a chance to contribute and be a viable team player as they participate in cooperative learning and theme-based instruction, which is anchored in inquiry and project-based learning. All students receive the support and guidance through high-impact instructional practices, which include clear learning intentions or targets and success criteria that takes into consideration the different types of learners we find in our classrooms.
This year, teachers at Phillips have already met with Pia Hansen to polish and refine their teaching in math post-pandemic. Staff reviewed modeled lessons, team taught, and collaborated to ensure our math program serves students' current needs and takes them to the next level.
Phillips Magnet uses the Success for All Foundation Whole School Comprehensive Model to help our students learn to read, learn, and succeed through cooperative learning strategies. By integrating this approach in our core and magnet instruction, we are able to support and inspire our students, parents, teachers, and administration to work together to create an engaging and effective learning environment. Next slide. When a student is not making the expected academic growth, our intervention specialists and trained instructional assistants provide immediate intervention that ensures the extra support in and outside of the classroom.
Next slide. Thank you. There is not a lot that will keep or stop the enthusiasm and determination of the Phillips teachers, including a lack of substitute coverage. Although we did not get to hold full day professional development that we had planned in September, the teachers agreed to after school early evening professional learning aligned with the work of John Hattie and Student Clarity.
Listen to these scholars as they begin to articulate and understand what they're getting good at. Teachers explain to students through specific success criteria what good looks like.
so students know where they are in their learning and what they need to do to get to the next level.
I'm getting good at reading. I'm getting good at math. I'm getting good at math at times. I'm getting good at drawing. I'm getting good at roller skating. I'm getting good at painting, and I'm also getting good at reading. I'm getting good at multiplication. Keep on working. And maybe you can become someday get good at something too.
Phillips Magnet School has two design labs, the Art Engineering Lab and the Design Lab. Both labs provide students with the opportunity to problem solve and create designs. In the Art Engineering Lab, Phillips students learn alongside master artists through the Meet the Masters program, as well as creating their own original designs to express understanding and creativity. They are also challenged to solve complex engineering problems that incorporate science and math skills while building the stamina to solve complex problems. Our design lab allows students to develop the necessary skills to succeed in the modern world. More importantly, as leaders, students are encouraged to find ways to use those skills to design solutions to problems in their own school community, the community at large, and to the world around them.
Next slide, please. Phillips students are leaders. Beginning in kindergarten, the students learn to lead by being proactive, defining outcomes when they begin with the end in mind and focusing on priorities by putting first things first. Students also learn how to create win-win solutions, practice empathetic listening with the intent to understand, and then respectfully share their point of view with courage and consideration. All this helps them to value the differences and explore alternatives to conflicts through synergizing strategies. As our students learn to apply these leadership skills every day, they are developing patterns that renew their mind, body, and heart and spirit. All of this leadership work culminates in students at Phillips being empowered to use their voices as leaders to impact their community and to help others to develop their own voice. Our Phillips students leave our campus not just with the skills to succeed in the middle school and high school classrooms, but with the skills necessary to become leading members in their households, workplace, and community. Listen to this student as a kindergartner and again as a fifth grader as he explains his leadership journey.
If you're trying to be a leader, you can help the earth by picking up litter and helping people. If they're sad, you can cheer them up. Learning to be a leader is something that can accomplish your goal and lead you to success in your life. Being a leader makes me feel like I'm accomplishing everything that I can for success.
At Phillips, we recognize the importance of balancing academics with the social emotional needs of students. Besides working on our leadership skills, students manage their emotions using the new toolbox tools and with the help of Phil and Chili.
Hey there, Phil. Hey, Chili. Hey, you seem like you're a little bit upset. Is everything okay? No, I just came from recess and I'm feeling big mad. Whoa. What happened? Well, Tweety Bird said I was a bad soccer player because I missed a pass. Well, are you a bad soccer player? No, but he said I was. So what he said wasn't true. So you can just throw it away. What? Sometimes things happen on the playground, in class, or even at home. Maybe people say unkind words, or maybe they even call us names. But those words and names aren't true. We know they aren't true. So we aren't going to hold on to them. We're just going to throw them away. Throw them away? Yep. Squish them up and toss them in the trash can. We aren't going to hold on to them. We are throwing them out. I like that. So, are you bad at soccer? No, I am not. So go ahead and throw that away. Wow, I feel so much better now. That should be one of your tools. It is. It's the garbage can tool. I can let the little things go. I can let the little things go. I'm going to remember it. If someone says things that aren't true, aren't kind, or that I don't like, I can put them in the garbage can and I can let them go. That's right.
This year, our teachers are using the Toolbox Project tools to enhance the SEL curriculum provided in the Success for All Getting Along program. An important part of the GAT program is the weekly class council meetings, which empowers our students to manage their own behavior, decrease conflicts, and increase receptivity to learning.
We hope you've enjoyed. Excited about all. Oh, Phil, just hold on a second. We hope you have enjoyed this brief tour through our home away from home. Please feel free to stop by anytime. On behalf of my team, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. And for the final word, here's Phil and Chili.
We are so excited about all the great work happening here at Phillips Magnet Elementary. And we are thankful for all the ways that you support that work. That's right, Chili. Thank you for watching our presentation. Remember, keep learning and keep leading.
So adorable. Thank you so much for that presentation. It's making us just giggle over here. Would someone like to share some brief comments now or wait for later?
I have to say it was sort of fun seeing Phil and Chili hanging out with us here tonight at the board meeting. That was certainly an interesting addition.
Well, I'll just add to that, that I think it's such a great example of how school communities make things their own, because that's the toolbox curriculum that all the sites K6, TK6 or TK5 are using, but you've adapted it and made it integrated with your own mascots. And I don't know how you do that cool animation. I'm very impressed by that. But and then the other thing that really struck me was I really appreciated that then and now student video. That was really meaningful and cool to see the same student in kindergarten and fifth grade talking about leadership. So I really appreciated that, and the other student voices as well. It really brings it to life. That was a great presentation. Thank you.
I appreciate that you celebrate your Phillips students through the power of leadership and self-reflection, that the leadership opportunities were applied to all learning and were expressed through both traditional and non-traditional methodologies, and that allows all of your students to participate. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. This coupled with the toolbox project, as trustee Reiser said, is a really powerful infrastructure for all of your students. I always love hearing the phrase students are encouraged, and you use that quite consistently. And I'm going to take away some of the garbage can. I think that's going to be very valuable. So thank you, Phillips Elementary and Principal Jones.
Yeah, I too appreciated, it felt very much like a virtual tour. Like I was there and we were there with the cheer that say, I am awesome. We were practicing some of that. So some really great lifelong lessons here that even us as adults in the room are going, I need to remember that. I need to remember that. So how wonderful that we're doing that at the elementary school level. And thank you so much for sharing that with us tonight. All right. That being said, let's thank you so much. And we will now go to our next elementary school. And this is Pueblo Vista Magnet Elementary School, and welcoming tonight is our Principal Helen Roca. Welcome.
Hello, thank you so much. Hi, I'm Helen Roca. I am proud to serve the teachers, families, and community of Pueblo Vista Magnet School. It is a pleasure and an honor to present tonight to the NVUSD School Board and community. This task of celebrating schools caused us to reflect on the achievements of our program and the positive effect it has had on students and the community. Next slide. We called it the roadmap of Pueblo Vista. Tonight, we will share some of the significant events that brought us to where we are today. We will also discuss what makes us Pueblo Vista and how we celebrate the essential components of our program. As you can see on our roadmap, when we started in 2012, Pueblo Vista was Vista 360 and an environmental sciences school that was a traditional school. It had the lowest test scores and a rapid declining enrollment. In 2013, 2014, Pueblo Vista was awarded a federal magnet grant where we became a dual language immersion school that focused on environmental sciences. At that time, we were able to celebrate students learning in 2 languages through the lens of sciences. In 2016, 2017, Pueblo Vista's federal magnet funds went away. It was a sad moment, but a great moment that caused us to stop and look to see at what we wanted to keep and what to let go. Being a magnet school is a great honor as they walk you through the pillars of magnet schools and what we needed to achieve. Through this lens, in 2017, 2018, we decided to continue to stay committed to the research and the research-based instruction and our school goals. We constantly looked at our data, both academically, social and emotionally, and our enrollment continued to increase. We celebrated our families, and at this moment, I would like to say a special thank you to all the teachers who had the blood, sweat, and tears in 2013-14, and the parents who believed in us in the very beginning stages of Pueblo Vista before we became our 2020 California Distinguished School, where we were awarded an amazing honor because of our increase of test scores, our high attendance, and our behavior also improved throughout the years. The part that we're the most proud of here at Pueblo Vista is that throughout all this process, throughout the roadmap of Pueblo Vista, we continue to close the achievement gap with our English language learners. In 2021 to 2022, today, we are celebrating that today we have 479 students and that we continue to meet the goal of what Magnet School set out to do, to attract families from all socioeconomic backgrounds and to attract families from various cultures and to ensure high academic achievement and professional development for teachers. Next slide. And who does this? The amazing team. Here is the 2021-2022 staff of Pueblo Vista. Very proud behind our California Distinguished School emblem that the district painted for us. So thank you so much for that. Next slide. So dual immersion, what is dual language? Often people ask, what is a 90-10 school? A 90-10 school is a school that focuses in the early years, 90% instruction in Spanish and 10% in English. Why? Because we want to ensure that students have a strong academic and strong literacy in the language of Spanish. We want our students in kindergarten and first grade to have such strong literacy skills that when they get to third grade and English is then introduced to them, students are only transferring the skill of literacy and not in language, so that something is automatic. We often at this point remind people we don't teach students the language of Spanish. We teach them how to read in Spanish. We teach them mathematics, writing, all in the language of Spanish. And by the time students are in third, fourth, and fifth grade, as you can see, fifth grade, it becomes 50-50, with the goal that by the time they get to middle school, they're bilingual and bicultural and biliterate. How is it that you achieve a 90-10 model? A 90-10 model is achieved when you have 50% of your population as native Spanish speakers and 50% native English speakers. Why is this? It's because in kindergarten and first grade, those native Spanish speakers are role models for our native English speakers. When our native English speakers don't understand what the teacher is saying, or when they are practicing oral fluency, the native Spanish speakers help the native English speakers. In the later years, third grade, when English is introduced more, the native English speakers become role models for our native Spanish speakers, as the native Spanish speakers then become more proficient in the English of the language of English. Next slide. The pillars of a dual language education are not just about being bilingual. It's about being bilingual and biliterate so that students can speak, read, write, and listen in 2 languages. It's about cross-cultural competencies and high academic achievement. We want our students to be able to be global citizens who not only speak in 2 languages, but who also see the world through multiple viewpoints. Next slide. Here we have a student at Pueblo Vista who is a 5th grader talking about his experiences of being a dual language student.
My name is Joaquin. I go to Pueblo Vista Elementary School and I'm in 5th grade. I think that Pueblo Vista is a very special school to me because learning 2 languages is kind of fun because it sort of gives you more opportunity. Learning about environmental science is fun because we get to go to like the science lab in the garden and we get to plant seeds and do cool experiments. I think my favorite part about learning a new language is probably you can use it a lot in the future, like maybe getting a job or something. You can speak 2 languages to communicate with customers or something. I think it was pretty hard learning a new language because I spent basically my whole life learning 1 language, but then all of a sudden, like I have to speak another one, and it felt kind of weird at first. One time, my grandma came over on my dad's side, and she only speaks Spanish, which means that since I was learning Spanish and I was in like 1st or 2nd grade, and like just barely knowing some Spanish, it was nice to like be able to actually communicate. And maybe like my other grandma on my mom's side doesn't speak any Spanish, so it's really weird, so they can't really talk. So I usually do most of the talking for them, which is, I don't know, sometimes kind of fun. I think it's important to know both because it just opens a lot of doors in like your future. Knowing more than 1 language, like maybe you can get enrolled in a better college or get a better job. My name is Joaquin. I go to Pueblo My name is Joaquin.
Sorry, at the very end of Joaquin's presentation, it looks like the internet was unstable there. He says how one of the benefits is being able to get jobs and go to college, where he can continue to be this bilingual and biliterate student. So it's great that to be bilingual and biliterate, but the beautiful part is that we do this through the sciences. Students come to us curious. It's our job to keep them that way. That's what our inquiry-based sciences units do. We make sure that we don't give the students the answers, but throughout their units, they have the opportunity to arrive to their own conclusions and through observations and reading. Next slide. It is so important to us that our students become these global citizens and that they understand how they have an impact on the world, not just learning about content, but they learn that they themselves are change agents. And our goal is that they can do this in 2 languages. Next slide. So during the time of becoming a magnet school, you get the opportunity to develop your magnet theme and units. This was definitely some blood, sweat, and tears through our time. And our teachers came through. We did many revisions, and we worked hard with Carrie Stroll on our science units and and making sure that we were focusing on next generation science standards and language arts standards. This was so important to Pueblo Vista when we finally solidified what our magnet themes environmental concepts were, because this is what brought our school together. It made sure that everyone in the school at the same time is studying about the same environmental concept, which helped create collaboration amongst the teachers and ensure coherency, because people had a vision and they knew exactly where we were going and what we were doing. The students themselves also know at the beginning of the year what they can predict. We are going to be studying about how to be a scientist, but wow, I'm going to do this at a 2nd grade level. So the students become excited themselves to experience all their different science units. Next slide. So what is an inquiry-based science unit? Well, during our inquiry-based science units, we make sure that during these 6 units that are designed, that are all inquiry, that we're always have a driving question and that the units have integrated the 6 C's throughout the lessons. What are the 6 C's? The first C is citizenship. Citizenship is so important at Pueblo Vista because we want our students to be global citizens, both and for students to be able to articulate how they make a difference in the world through science. Next one. Collaboration. We want all of our students to be able to know how to collaborate with each other, work together in the workforce, as well as in the classroom and anywhere. We have our students throughout their units, they work and they collaborate together in both Spanish and in English. Next one. Character. We want our students to develop their own character, and this is a beautiful place for them to develop that is in the science lab. Next slide. And creativity. What is learning? It has to be creative. If we're going to continue to make these students ask questions and inspire them to learn and to make sure that they have inquiry, we want to continually facilitate that opportunity for kids to be creative. And what they get to do is creativity in the kitchen, the science lab, or the garden. Next one. Critical thinking is extremely important, and the critical thinking is what our students become masters at through our inquiry-based science units and our focus on questioning as a school, where our students learn not only how to ask questions, but how to answer them. And the last one. Communication. Through all of this, we hope that our students can become proficient at communicating their findings in both Spanish and in English, and they do this through their science units and their presentations at the end of the year. Next slide. So what does this look like? All right, these ones, go ahead and click them fast, Jordan. That way we can go a little faster. Thank you. So what does this look like? Here's a sample kindergarten unit. So these units sound complex, and this is just a quick overview of what it looks like. We start with literacy. The students have the opportunity to start their driving question, and they focus on literacy. We also focus on vocabulary. Our classrooms, when you walk in, are print-rich classrooms that are full of vocabulary and sentence frames, because students are constantly learning vocabulary at Pueblo Vista. And with our goal being communicating and students being able to articulate their new knowledge, we have sentence frames throughout the rooms with that key vocabulary and realia. When they have that exposure to their vocabulary, they've read a book, they have these key vocabulary words, the students then go out to the garden or to the kitchen or to the science lab, where their science units then come to life. Here you see a picture of two students who are looking at a plant. They're not just looking at any plant, they are focusing on their pollinator unit of the bees, where the students are observing the bees. The students learn how to draw as scientists. And so when you draw as a scientist, you draw the bees as they are, but they also learn how to write etiquetas, labels. This also helps with vocabulary. So here, two students are observing the bees on a pollinating plant in the garden that they actually helped plant in the fall. And they're recording data about the bees in the garden. They take these experiences from the garden, the kitchen, or the science lab into the classroom, where they begin to draft writing. We want the students to be able to articulate their experiences. And at the end, our students learn how to write. They plan and write 3 sentences about bees in Spanish. This seems like such a simple concept or a simple task in kindergarten. But the beautiful part about this, because our units progress throughout the years, when our students get to 5th grade, they are then planning and writing and articulating their experiences, their common experiences through their science units in the language of Spanish and in English with multiple paragraphs. Our students become great writers. From the focus of inquiry, questioning, writing, and literacy, and through science, our students have become true global stewards with high academic achievement. Our next slide will talk about where we are today.
Good evening and buenas tardes to everybody. My name is Wendy Fitzgerald. I'm currently the intervention teacher at Pueblo Vista. I've been here 8 years, so my role has evolved a little bit over the years as Pueblo Vista has grown and the district has changed. So has my role. So I'm going to speak a little bit about how we measure progress and how everyone's favorite word, assessment, not really, but we do assess a lot of things along the way at Pueblo Vista. So we're assessing the learning as it's going, we assess it in the middle, we assess it at the end, and then we reflect on that a lot. So we have the same assessments that everyone has for the state, starting with the CASP and the CATS, the science one, the CAST, the LPAC for the English language learners, and then going down to the district assessments. We have the same as all the other schools in that regard too. Going down to the school level, we do have some other assessments that we've created that really help us, as Helen said, measure that by literacy. And one of those is the writing assessment that we do as a whole school. It's a lot like a performance task, and it revolves around an issue of environmentalism, a problem or a situation somewhere in the world. It could be local, it could be global. And then the students study that. There's lots of input, there's lots of discussion, but then they're tasked with writing on their own an informative piece. And we do that 3 times a year. We even did it during the shutdown, as it was called, last year. We were able to still do that. And we were really proud that we could continue that because it's something we really rely on that's consistent throughout the school. Everybody does it. We come together as a team. The magnet curriculum team comes together to design these assessments. And then the teachers administer them in a consistent way over a 2-day period generally. And then we come together again to collaborate and calibrate, meaning look at examples of student writing so that we can score them. And they're all anonymous, so that students don't have their names on them, but we score them in grade level teams and then analyze the results. So that's one big assessment that we do at Pueblo Vista that might be a little bit different from other schools. We also do grade level created checks for understanding with different, with math, with reading, and foundational literacy skills, and we make SMART goals. And a lot of schools make SMART goals on that, but we stick to those religiously. We really do. Even through the shutdown, again, we stuck to our SMART goals, and those are shorter cycles of inquiry into how the learning's going, how the teaching's going, and then we analyze that for next steps. Let's see, I think you could go to the next slide. Thank you. So here are some examples of the current STAR testing, which was just in the fall. And this was for Spanish language arts, which we can measure all the way through from kindergarten onward. And we always see a strong incline at the beginning, kindergarten first and second. And then this is predictable, even when we weren't doing the STAR testing and we were using other methods like the reading inventory and other things. We see a little dip in third grade because that's when the English really comes in, and the Spanish kind of is sometimes for some kids less attractive. And we see this little dip. Things also get a lot harder in third grade in terms of reading and writing. So this is kind of a traditional or typical display of data that we've seen throughout at least the 8 years that I've been there with measuring Spanish language proficiency. And the next slide will show English. So you can proceed there. In English, we don't measure them in kindergarten first and second because we're not teaching it enough to really make it worth measuring. They do get oral language, and we measure that in our grade levels and in our school level, but we don't measure it with the STAR testing until third grade because they've been introduced to it, and there's that little dip. And then fifth grade, still there. I don't know if this year was the best test yet. We're going to improve on this for the next one, for the winter and then the spring. So we look at this data. You can continue to the next one, which is math. And this is where we use data for the MTSS procedure, which we're really fine tuning this year with our team. We have so many points of data that we look at, this just being one of them. But I would like to mention that in math, because math is a language of its own and we're a very language-rich school, we have number corner in English in grades 3 through 5, and then the bulk of the math can be taught in Spanish as well. And then the younger grades, it's always in Spanish. And math really having its own language, we make it as language-rich as we can. And then when we measure it, we try and look at numeracy, word problems, tasks, all the different kinds of areas, conceptual things in math that can be explained with different kinds of language. So as I said, MTSS is our next big area that we're working on, and the PLCs that take place at our schools are feeding that data into the MTSS procedures. And I work this year more as an intervention teacher, taking on some of the groups and working with teachers, trying to address the needs of all the learners. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, can you go back, please? Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mindy Bañuelos, and this is my 8th year teaching at Pueblo Vista Magnet School as a first grade teacher. I will be talking a little bit about our professional learning communities. I have to say that at Pueblo Vista, PLCs are our priority. We make sure PLCs are data-driven. We as teachers make sure to administer assessments, grade them, and bring them back to our grade level team to analyze together. Through collaboration, the teachers create SMART goals and ensure that struggling students are provided with interventions and the other students are challenged to learn at high levels. We make collective commitments clarifying what each team member will do to support student learning. Coherence and consistency is key with us, especially in literacy. It is essential that students have a strong literacy foundation in first grade. As a first grade level, we create common goals and go back to our classrooms to implement interventions, and we do it all across grade levels. We then come back to our PLCs with student work samples and discuss what worked and what didn't. So we don't just show up to our meetings empty-handed. We make sure that every single person in the grade level shows up with data from their own classroom so that we can analyze together and then go back and apply those interventions. We then come back to our PLCs and then we focus on results. We make sure that our meetings are student focused. We put the other things aside in the parking lot for later and make sure that we're addressing the needs of our students. At the end of our data cycles, we make sure to celebrate the little successes or big successes and then make new goals and continue to the second cycle, the third cycle, or even the fourth cycle. So we make sure that we analyze the data, apply interventions, and then we continue meeting the students' needs. We don't just, say, oh, let's put it aside and let's move on. We make sure that we continue if needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy and Wendy. I want to say thank you so much to everyone for being a part of our journey at Pueblo Vista, and take a special moment to say thank you to the school board and Dr. Musetti and the district office for their support in continuing to strengthen the dual language programs of NVUSD. At Pueblo Vista, we keep buzzing in 2 languages and focusing on environmental sciences. We are proud, we are so proud of all the achievements of our staff, our students, and our families at Pueblo Vista. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Principal Roca, and to the team. Any brief comments? Yes, Trustee Dooley, go ahead.
Yeah, I thank you very much for that presentation. I had the pleasure of visiting the campus a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that was touched on tonight and that I observed in action was the kind of seamless integration of the language learning, the vocabulary, the sentence frames, the kind of the building of language learning into the instruction and the different disciplines. So it's a very active process of learning the language. And I also really like the environmental science aspects. Each of the grade levels will learn about a different pollinator, and we saw the bees. It's a great way to both, to do all the things at once, to learn language, to build community, to develop inquiry and creativity. It's a good model. So thank you.
Pueblo Vista was one of the first schools I visited when I went on the board. And you know me, I like a good come from behind story, and this is one. And it's clear I need to go back for another visit, but you're right, the classrooms promote language consistently. There's just, you can walk into every grade level and you're going to see it. And I love the writing assessment. No problem with that. Reminds me of the old district writing assessment that we used to do. And I really like Joaquin. Joaquin is a wonderful advocate, and I'm sure his grandmothers enjoy him a lot.
So I second everything that the 2 trustees before me have said. As a scientist, I'm really happy to see the way that you're integrating science into a bilingual education. So important to be able to communicate that, not just in English, which is, the primary language that most scientists will communicate, but to the rest of the world. And what better way to start than to do it in Spanish?
So I am looking forward to seeing what Joaquin and the rest of the 478 scientists that are being, educated in our school system will do in the future. Thank you for that presentation.
Yeah, great. I love the highlighting the aspect of the science part of it and the math part of it. And then comes the language, but it's so seamless. It's very true when you walk through the campus. And as an English language learner myself, I just remember math being so easy because it was its own language. And so you could really, and with the right support, just really get through that. So just, but Principal Roca knows this about me sharing this.
I must say, I really loved the continual increase in the enrollment numbers. I too adored Joaquin. I really liked the sample unit that you used in kinder. It provided a great example of the different learning elements kind of tucked into the B unit. I thought that was a great approach. That approach is exemplified in every classroom. There are learning objectives adorning all the walls. There is a learning opportunity tied into every approach, whether it is visual, teacher engagement, the peer engagement and support, the independent work, and then of course the 6 C's that you so well articulated. I love how you use interactive classroom messaging, consistent themes and concepts that provide kind of the needed infrastructure for the 3 pillars of dual education. And I strongly agree with Trustee Dooley's comments about the seamless integration. So thank you, Pueblo Vista Elementary and Principal Roca.
All right.
I'll just say I really enjoyed this presentation. I'm so impressed by the combination of the DLI model with the environmental science magnet focus. That's a lot to take on, and it's really clear by this presentation, and also by I did have the pleasure of a site visit a few weeks ago, how beautifully you're executing on that integration of the 2 themes and goals. And I just wanted to say, I loved the quote that says, students, or it wasn't a quote, it was your presentation saying, students come to us curious. It's our job to keep them that way. And I just think that that's an amazing theory of action for all of us to keep in mind. It was a great presentation and it's a wonderful school. And the last thing I'll say is it just underscores for me how exciting it is that we are going to have a middle school continuation, the Unidos Middle School for these Pueblo Vista and NVLA students to continue on this path in such a supported and strengthened setting. So thanks so much.
All right, thank you all so much. We will now continue with our next school. We are now ready to welcome Shear Elementary School and Principal Gardner. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Musetti, and the amazing school leaders that have presented tonight, many of whom have been mentors of mine. So first of all, I would like to let you know that we are celebrating 100 years of service to the Napa community. And some of you that have possibly been in Napa for a while will recognize this older brick building. Fortunately, we've upgraded our facilities and we've had a lot of great things coming our way over the last couple of years. Next slide, please. And so one of the things that we did when I first got here a couple of years ago is prior to coming on board in the fall during the summer, I went around the neighborhood of Shear and really knocked on doors and asked our neighbors what they knew about Shear. And there were a lot of positive comments, but some of the, most of the people had mentioned things like we have a lot of socioeconomically disadvantaged students and families, and we have a lot of English learners. And while this is technically true, we decided to look at it a little bit differently. We have really hardworking, loving families that are dedicated to their children's social and emotional development and their academic growth. And also they're becoming biliterate, bilingual future leaders of Napa. Next slide, please. And so we begin each day with the Mayan precept called In Lakesh. And it might remind a lot of people of our golden rule, right? But it is, you are my other me. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. So often as you're walking around campus, you'll hear students saying to each other, and teachers saying this to each other, that you are my other me. And it's one of those great possibilities and opportunities for our community to feel connected. Next slide. And so our central theme over the last few years, and really emphasized this year after our last year during the distance learning, is really what is it and what does it take to make an impact on the lives of our community. And we do this always through the lens of equity. So our primary goal is in developing expert learners, or some of you may know it as assessment capable learners. Next slide. And so what are expert learners? Expert learners are really purposeful and motivated, resourceful and knowledgeable, strategic and goal directed. And we always have a saying here that our students we should not be working harder than our students, that our students really should be self-directed and know what they're learning, where they're going, and what's next. Next slide. So our guiding theory of action, really our roadmap to success, is something that we've developed over the last couple of years. And this year, really looking at it through a lens of equity and trying to go further than we've gone in the past. Next slide. So our theory of action based around assessment capable learners or expert learners really has to do, one, above all, is that all of our students grow more than 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. And so this year, we're really focusing in on feedback as a vehicle in which to do that. Also, we look at clarity. This is something that we've been really diving into for a while, and that is, of course, making sure that our students are very clear about the learning goals, what success looks like, and what are the skills and knowledge base that they need in order to achieve that. And then, of course, high expectations. We've done a lot of work through culturally responsive practices, but really not only our expectations of students, but what are their expectations of themselves. Next slide. And so our focus and theme for 21-22 is let's not do new, but renew. And we do this through a series of go slow to go fast. And that really is focusing in on building a strong foundation, social emotional growth, building connections, and innovating. Next slide. And so innovation, often we think of innovation as thinking outside the box. But really, when you think about the great innovations over the years, it's really about making small shifts and changes in things that we already do well. It's rather than thinking outside the box, it's learning how and recognizing how those boxes connect. So one example is you really can reinvent the wheel. The original baby carriages had very small wheels. They were very difficult to navigate. And then somebody came up with the idea of just simply putting bigger wheels on it. And as you can see, this baby is very interested and happy. Next slide. So this is just a further expansion of what I was talking about, how often the small shifts or changes that we think maybe are not that significant at the time lead to big innovations and achievements over a period of time. Next slide. And so when we're focused on building connections, we really focus on the idea that you belong and your voice matters. So in doing that, we develop different strategies and techniques in order to get our students to be more engaged in academic discourse and cognitive learning. Next slide. And so one way that we do that is by feedback connected to learning intentions and success criteria. And right here, you see an example in a kindergarten class for narrative writing, where students first self-evaluate. They self-assess their work, and they often have that opportunity to see exemplars throughout the room so that they can compare and rate their own writing, then go back and double check it through their success criteria. And then this also gives them a framework from which they can provide feedback to other students. So we often think of feedback as teacher to students, but really what we're trying to develop here is to engage our students in that academic discourse through a feedback loop. Next slide. And so one of the things that came out of the WestEd event that we had last year is that productive talk is extremely important. And in fact, historically, students only spend about 6 minutes per day in meaningful academic conversations. And so in our opinion, that this is really a great avenue for us to develop that academic discourse through having these meaningful academic conversations. And they're very difficult to have if students aren't knowledgeable and are unaware of what success looks like. And then this way they can provide that effective feedback to one another. Next slide. And so clarity really, as I've mentioned before, is around success criteria and learning intentions so that students know where they are in their learning, where they're going, and what the next steps are. So to increase this greater student ownership over learning, we're expanding our dive into clarity and beginning the process of co-constructing learning intentions and success criteria with our students. So often students will be given perhaps a narrative writing. Then they deconstruct that narrative writing and they choose what are the areas of success that they would like to shoot for. And in that co-constructing of learning intentions with their teacher and with each other, that also gives them a sense that their voice matters and that they belong. Next slide. So taking a deeper dive into deep and transfer learning goes well beyond just the surface learning, which also is obviously very important. So students have to know the skills and the tasks and the basic information in order to be successful. But what does it really mean to go into the deep end of the pool? And this allows our students to be inquiry-based thinkers, and that they're able to compare and contrast different elements from different areas within an academic topic in every area of language arts, math, and science and social studies. And then really what our goal in the end is to get our students into transfer learning. Can they take that skill set, the knowledge that they've developed, and through feedback and through their own hard work, and how can they apply that to novel concepts and novel ideas? Okay, next slide, please. And so we're really proud that recently we were featured in Michael McDowell's new book, The Busy Teacher. And so we've done a lot of work with Michael McDowell throughout the last couple of years. He has brought educators and administrators from out of state to visit Shear Elementary School as a model school in the area of visible learning, the work and the data and the work of John Hattie. And so we're super proud of this and also our continuing relationship with Michael McDowell. Next slide. Also, we had a great visit from Governor Newsom over the summer. We were so proud that Shear was chosen for this important moment when Gavin Newsom signed a new education bill. Our students still talk about it today. I have many children that talk about, as you can see in this photo right here, that wonderful experience and just how warm and inviting our governor was. And so we really did appreciate this, you know, the opportunity to showcase our amazing students and staff. Next slide. And so we do have a new exciting potential for a K-8 expansion. So last year we had a lot of interest from our 5th grade families to continue to stay at Shear. And we currently have one class of 32 sixth graders who have been diving into doing community service for the school. And then tomorrow they are collaborating with their kinder partners in creating a spooky garden experience for our staff and for our students. And so we're super proud of the expansion of this program, and we hope to continue that so we can continue to influence and build our expert learners all the way through 8th grade. Next slide, please. And so I really do have to give a shout out to our amazing community partners, our Shear Family Resource Center, and I want to acknowledge Sonia Ochoa, who's been a great leader and also has just worked tirelessly to support our community, and also our parent university. Maite Mengoza is in charge of that. And this also allows us to grow and to learn alongside of our families. Next slide. And so really what Shear is, if you ever come here, you'll feel the family feeling that we have. Many of our staff have been here for many years, and they've dedicated their professional life to providing equity and to help our students grow and learn and become the future leaders of Napa. Next slide. And so I would like to first just again thank the Board of Trustees, Dr. Musetti, who's just been such a wonderful inspiration to all of us. And also I'd like to give a shout out to Trustee Water for your continued support, and we'd love to have you out here whenever you can come out, and we do appreciate all that you've done for us. And I thank everyone for allowing me to speak tonight. Thank you.
It's sweet that we thank you for your presentation, Principal Gardner. Some comments from the board at this time?
Yeah, I really loved seeing the way that you guys are incorporating the students in setting their own expectations and success indicators and really involving them to sort of own their own learning progress. I think that was a neat piece to see.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gardner. I always love coming out to my neighborhood school, and very many happy memories there. And one of them was when the governor came out, signing the biggest school finance bill in California history. That made an impression on me, and I'm glad it did on the children too. I agree with what Trustee Gracia says. And I did read the book Visible Learning that you recommended to me. It's really it's very good. And I want my fellow trustees to go out, because they will put your name up on the little illuminated board. It's like it's a real Hollywood thing. And I know, and it's fun to visit there. The students are so glad to see you. The principal has a wonderful rapport with them. And I had a great time visiting the classroom, that's going to be our, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And as I said to Mr. Trustee Gracia, they are reading full-length books there. So yes, it's a great place, and you're going places, and 100 years of Shear School, my goodness, that we really should take notice of that. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I appreciate how you celebrate how important each student's voice is within the Shear community. You are my other me is a powerful, beautiful statement that allows students to appreciate and respect each other. The first 3 slides of your presentation represented the foundational blocks for student ownership of their learning. And it provides students not only the skills, but the confidence to learn. And that really is a gift. I love the philosophy of creating your own narrative. So thank you very much, Principal Gardner.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very excited to say that I will be visiting Shearer tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the students and teachers and staff in action. But this was a wonderful presentation. I won't take too long, but I just wanted to thank you, Principal Gardner, for the reframe that you provided at the beginning when you talked about going around and knocking on neighbors' doors and reframing from, oh, this, you know, we have a lot of socioeconomically disadvantaged families and working families. And I think it's so important to lean into that reframe of we have hardworking families that love their children and that are working hard on becoming bilingual and biliterate. And I think that speaks volumes about you as a leader that you led with that. So thank you for that. And I'll see you in the morning.
Yep, see you then.
All right, that concludes this round of comments for now. So thank you again, Principal Gardner, for your time and for that presentation. All right, we are now switching gears to our middle school with Redwood Middle School. And so I'd like to welcome Principal Marianne Christopherson to join us. So welcome.
Good evening, Dr. Musetti, President Gonzalez-Mares, Board of Trustees, Student Board Member, District Administrators, and fellow community members. I'm Marianne Christopherson, Principal of Redwood Middle School. I'd like to begin by thanking the board for the opportunity to celebrate our schools, and especially Redwood Middle School. The presenters tonight are Peter Hartnick, Assistant Principal, Kathy Martin, Assistant Principal, Mark File, Counselor, Rafael Ayala, Counselor, Chuck Drazel, Social Studies Teacher, Betsy Witt, Science Teacher, and 8th grade student, Ella Gomez. We made a decision to have a team approach for this presentation this evening. Teaming at Redwood Middle School has been practiced since the early 1980s. It is the collaborative core of everything we do at Redwood Middle School, whether it be on academic teams, in physical education, with special education, and/or administrative team and office teams. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. I'd like to share our mission. We are a professional learning community that is dedicated to ensure that all students are able to achieve at least 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. Our teachers are dedicated to student learning outcomes and the mastery of standards in each subject area. I am proud and appreciative of their accomplishments each and every day with their work with their students. Our vision. We believe that Redwood Middle School is a rigorous academic learning community built on caring and personal relationships, where all adults and students collaboratively and passionately achieve their highest potential, allowing all students to realize their post-secondary dreams. Our focus this year is care, community, and connection. Our demographics are as follows. We are currently 65% Latino, 31% white, 1% Filipino, and 2% multiple races. 26% of the student body are English learners, 18.6% are redesignated English learners, and 14.9% are long-term English learners. That means they have been an English learner for 5 or more years. And 3.6% are newcomers, new to the US within the last 2 years. And 15.8% have an IEP. As you can see, our community is composed of very diverse learners. I'm going to hand off right now to Mr. Hartnick. Next slide.
Redwood Middle School is an example of what a comprehensive middle school can be and what it can accomplish.
While the class offering seemed to be traditional on the surface, it only takes a little bit of digging to discover how Redwood has put our own fingerprints on the education of our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Like all other schools, Redwood students take a core set of all 3 classes, which include all 3 years, which include English, math, science, history, and physical education. Students also take an elective class each of the 3 years. Students choose from beginning or advanced band, strings, drumming, choir, yearbook, exploratory for our 6th graders, avid for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, video production, which produces both the student news and a video bulletin, art, both drawing and painting art, and also a 3D art class, English language development for our English learners, and directed studies for our students with IEPs. Of these electives, 2 of them are new this year as a result of student interest. They are our drumming class as well as our 3D arts class. This responsiveness to what students want and need remain at the center of what we do as a school. In addition to the courses we offer, we've also made some adaptations to the Bell schedule to best support student learning. We offer a flex and a homeroom period. Flex 4 times a week, homeroom once a week. This will be discussed in our next slide in more detail. In addition to these structures, our structures to support student staff collaboration in support of greater student learning. Staff has daily collaboration time from 8 to 8:25 in the morning. This is for both their academic teams, their grade level teams, as well as for their academic content teams. There's also weekly time during our early release Wednesdays to support staff collaboration. While we are proud of all of these structures and supports, it is teaming with staff and students that make our school of 831 students seem small and accessible to all of our students. It is my pleasure now to pass it off to Mr. Chuck Drazel, history teacher at Redwood Middle School. Next slide, please.
Thanks a lot, Peter. I'd like to start really briefly with a quick shout out for Dr. Musetti, who waved at me through my classroom door yesterday. And because we are all incognito in our masks these days, I had no idea who I was waving back to. So Dr. Musetti, it's great to see you out there walking around, and you are an inspiration to all of us. When I arrived at Redwood 30 years ago, I had a constant stream of teachers passing through my classroom who were visiting from schools all over Northern California. They were here to witness for themselves the power of interdisciplinary teaming and to take that back to their schools. Teaming is in our blood, it's our DNA. Over the years, the pendulum of educational policy gradually eroded our school's ability to organize by teams, but we have steadfastly held on to that model. We've held on to it here because we know its power and its role in creating a safe and healthy learning environment in our school community for all of our students. Teaming is the glue that holds all of our school programs together. With teaming, we create authentic learning communities with a group of 4 core teachers sharing the same students. We prep by team to facilitate our ability to meet and address both the academic and social emotional needs of our students. Teaming helps us leverage all of our support systems on campus. For example, my team, the Hornet team, has developed a flexible grouping model that gives priority days to each core teacher on the team and allows them to call in students for extra help, reteaching, or extra time to finish a task during that flexible grouping period. In this way, we're able to provide 2 hours a week of intervention time within our school schedule. Our team systems help us teach our students to be accountable for their own learning. Homeroom classes each Wednesday include only our own team students. So we're building those relationships with our students, our personal relationships, and creating that homeroom core every day or every week. Additional planning and meeting time each day happens for both teams or for teams before school starts from 8 o'clock to 8:25 every day for the purposes of content and team discussions that happen on the school site. So teaming, folks, is our superpower, and the data bears that out, as you'll hear from my colleague Betsy Witt and Mark Feil in the next couple of slides. I'd like to pass it along now to Marianne Christofferson, our fearless leader, for the next slide, please.
Board priorities. We first heard of the board priorities at the management retreat in August, and they are substantial and focused. The middle school redesign plays a pivotal role in preparing our Redwood Middle School community to focus on core elements. for a well-balanced education for all students who attend Redwood Middle School. These core elements were presented Tuesday evening at the NVUSD Middle School Information Session. We began the work last year with the MTSS model and have developed this into an entire school approach with many stakeholders at the table. We have our admin team, counselors, social worker, parent liaison, school psychologist, and attendance clerk, and 2 teachers who are instrumental in keeping the focus on supporting the whole child. We meet weekly to adjust and to address the needs of our most struggling students. The data we are currently focusing on are STAR, math and reading assessments, grades, attendance, the pre-intervention tab in ARIES, the SDQ, which stands for Strength and Difficulty Questionnaire, which is a survey that all students took at the beginning of the school year. We survey students regularly to monitor their success and also their challenges to ensure we are targeting the social emotional curriculum in the right areas. We call it teaching to the moment or a teachable moment. This is done through our Wednesday homeroom lessons. Math is critically important to bridge to prepare our students for high school and ensure they understand key concepts so they receive full credit to be able to graduate from high school. We use flexible learning time in order to have students own their own learning and make decisions on how to proceed to increase, practice, make up, or enrich their learning during that time period. Teachers are participating in morning PLCs in their respective teams to develop best practices in support of student learning outcomes, with a particular focus on math achievement. Also, all math teachers are having students use Dreambox, which is a digital math platform, daily in order to close student achievement gaps. Finally, we are using Parent Square to communicate to parent stakeholders once a week in the family newsletter that is shared every Sunday morning. Redwood Middle School staff has provided a weekly newsletter, which is called the Redwood Reader, to share what's happening in the week ahead. At Redwood Middle School, we constantly collaborate and continue to improve protocols, procedures, and expectations to provide clarity on next steps and moving priorities forward. I'm going to now hand it off to Mrs. Martin and our student Ella Gomez. Next slide.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kathy Martin. At Redwood Middle School, we have an amazing student body. Our 831 students have opportunities at school to participate in focus academics, but also have fun participating in school activities. This year, even in a pandemic, we have introduced a chess club that meets after school, a disc golf club, and a book club that was started by one of our 8th grade students. Students have opportunities to share their voices, enjoy time with their friends, and learn. With us today, we have one of our amazing Redwood students, Ella Gomez. Ella, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Ella Gomez. I'm an 8th grader, and this is my 3rd year at Redwood.
Thank you so much, Ella. So what makes Redwood so special to you?
One thing that makes Redwood special to me are the bonds I've created with friends, teachers, and staff members.
So what could a student expect during a typical day at Redwood?
One thing anyone can be sure to expect during a typical day is there's always going to be something new. You'll participate in group projects, spending time with friends at milk break and lunch, and some students participate in ACE sports after school. We also get 3 weeks of swimming. Overall, your day at Redwood will be full of fun, learning, and excitement.
So Ella, what advice would you give to an incoming Redwood student?
One piece of advice I would be sure to give an incoming Redwood student is that it isn't like the movies. For example, this isn't as scary as you think, and once you find the right people to be around, it feels like your second home. When I came, I was like, uh-oh, but then I quickly realized everyone here is very welcoming, and there's nothing to worry about. Just be sure to stay confident and don't get wrapped up in all the drama.
Thank you so much, Ella, for being here. We greatly appreciate it and giving us some insight into the student life at Redwood. What's better than having a student to actually share what it's like to be a student at Redwood? So Mark and Betsy, I'm sending it to you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mark File. I'm one of the counselors at Redwood. And I suppose I'm a bit biased with social emotional learning. It is so important to be implemented in the schools. And there's some district-wide data that was collected a couple years back that shows why. It's on your screen now, and it's difficult to think about, and I debated including it. But as you'll see when Betsy shares in a minute, there's some really neat contrasting data that we're very proud of. At Redwood, we've made a very strong effort to combat these troubling numbers through building relationships, strong teaching, making teaming a priority, like Chuck talked about, and putting systems in place like the MTSS process, multi-tiered systems of support, to address student needs. We've also strengthened our homeroom program so that each week, students receive a lesson on a social emotional topic. So far this year already, we've had lessons on kindness, advocating for what you need, managing stress, managing responsibility, bullying, and if you see something, say something. Community circles are also a part of our homeroom program that help reinforce the lesson for the day. And still on this slide, here's Betsy Witt with some very encouraging data.
Well, hello, friends. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
All right. I'm Betsy Witt, a science teacher at Redwood on the Hornet team. The good news is that the numbers show that overall, Redwood is an awesome place to be, and we're making good progress on supporting students' social emotional learning. We did a survey before the pandemic to find out how our kids were feeling about school. Before the pandemic, 90% of students said they either agreed or strongly agreed that they were happy to be at Redwood. 81% felt safe or very safe while they were at school. We surveyed our kids again just recently this week, and the results were even more encouraging. We found that 91% of our students say they're happy to be at Redwood, 95% feel safe at school, and 96% feel close to one or more students at school. We were only able to poll the 7th and 8th graders this week, which makes these numbers actually even more encouraging because sometimes it's the 8th graders who struggle with those kinds of things more. So anyways, we'd really like to celebrate these data points that our kids are happy while they're at Redwood and that they're feeling close to people, they're feeling safe. And now I'd like to hand it off to our other counselor, Rafa Ayala.
Next slide, please. Hi, everyone. My name is Rafael Ayala. I am counselor for the 8th grade and the Spartan 6th graders. This is my 2nd year at Awesome Redwood. And I have the honor to, I think, to talk about our heart and soul of our community, 4 norms. And what are our 4 norms? Be safe, be respectful, be responsible, and be kind. And as a school community, we try to make sure that our heart and soul of those 4 norms are implemented in our students in an everyday fashion, from when they're waiting in traffic on Beard Road to once they come into our walls and when they sit down in our classrooms. Because as a community, we want to make sure that they understand how important they are and how important they are as future leaders, for them to also show those 4 norms to the 8th graders, to the 7th graders, 7th graders, to the 6th graders, and not only them, but also to us as faculty, staff, and our parents. Our 4 norms are being practiced almost every day, and evidence to see in many events. I currently run 2 groups of EL newcomers where the 4 norms are being practiced right there, where the kiddos are being safe with each other, responsible, respectful, and kind, by sharing and helping each other how to Google or how to write an email to their teachers, but also showing each other how to Google Translate. The 4 norms is such a vital thing within this community, because we want to make sure that each student, especially coming from a very scary COVID era, feels safe and feels like a family here at Redwood. And that's what our 4 norms do. It helps us become a family So when they go off to the high school world, we prepared our family members to go off to the next stage and be even more successful than they are right now. With that, I'd like to go to Ms. Christopherson, Mary Ann, to the next.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Rafa. Thank you. And so we would like to conclude with our Ready for Growth slide. We are ready for growth, and we've been working diligently to plan for the new students and their families. We also welcome additional teachers and support staff who will be transitioning from River and Harvest Middle Schools. We are excited for the opportunity to grow and learn from our new friends with whom we will be creating a new community for the 2022-23 school year. Because middle school is such a unique time for adolescents, we know that creating a caring, supporting, and connected environment will be key to our success moving forward. Ensuring that we collect and listen to student voice through surveys and focus groups on a regular basis will be a priority in the coming months and the next school year as we grow bigger as a school community. To all future Redwood Warriors, we are ready and excitedly awaiting the time you join us on campus for the 2022-23 school year. For families who would like to visit Redwood Middle School in the coming weeks, we have 2 upcoming dates for school tours, November 10th and 17th from 2 to 3, and we will meet families at the front of the school by the flagpole. Yesterday, we had 6 families that attended our school-wide tour. Again, we as a team that presented tonight would like to thank you for this opportunity to share our passion about our learning community at Redwood Middle School. Good night, and thank you again.
Thank you so much for the presentation to the Redwood Elementary School and to Principal, it's my bilingual pronunciation here, but Christopherson. So thank you so much for that. All right, we are now moving next to our last school. So changing gears to now a high school. So tonight we have New Technology High School, and welcome Principal Susan Miller.
Hi, good evening. Jordan, I think I still have a few panelists that need to be promoted.
Sorry, Principal Miller, I lost track here. Can I pause for 1 second?
Oh, absolutely.
I skipped right through, and I want to make sure I give time to give some board member comments on the presentation from Redwood.
But we do love your enthusiasm, Principal Miller. Ready to jump right in.
Jumped right in. So hold on to that enthusiasm, which I'm sure you are eagerly waiting. So who'd like to go first? Yep, Trustee Water.
Okay, and I'll make it really quick. I just wanted to tell the Principal Christopherson that I tuned into the meeting about the middle school redesign, and I was so impressed with her and all of our staff who took part in it. It was I just learned so much, and I was so proud to be associated with the Napa Valley Unified School District. And thank you for that. I also liked what Assistant Principal Hartnack told us. You know, they do have a traditional curriculum, and I like tradition, but it is definitely not one size fits all. There's room for student requests being honored, and I love the team approach. And this was just an excellent presentation. Thank you.
I appreciate your recognition of the SEL needs of your students and your obvious commitment to serving the whole child. I loved the expression teaching to the moment or teachable moments. That level of attention and understanding applies to every moment of every day. So that was truly meaningful. I appreciate how you celebrate your students through your teaming approach. over the years, Mike Wilmarth, Peter, Principal Christofferson, you've done such a great job of articulating the power of the teaming approach. It's been consistently woven into your conversations about your school, and I really appreciate that. It clearly works. It addresses almost every parent's questions about how do you create these small learning communities within the confines of a big school. I also want to speak to what Trustee Waters said. I learned a lot on the middle school redesign call as well. And I thought that both Principal Christofferson and Principal Cole brought up the points that more students bring more FTE, bring in more enrichment programs, bring more energy. And when you have principals and staff and teachers that are so committed to kind of the each individual child and how they integrate into their own school site, you see the power of every decision that Dr. Musetti makes and makes in conjunction with you all to make really collaborative school cultures. I appreciate how you showcase and how you leverage collaboration, school culture, interdisciplinary teams, all to create safe, nurturing, and supportive learning environments for your students. So thank you very much to staff and to Principal Christofferson.
I want to echo that. First the thank you, but also the focus that is clear from the presentation on the creation of community at the school. The 4 norms are community norms. Those are things that I love that it's central to Redwood, but it should be central to all our communities. The empowerment of students through various things like flex time and through being able to start clubs and hearing their voice be honored is a community value. And the teams are small communities within a large community. It's central and evident, and I very much appreciated that. Thanks.
I would echo what my fellow trustees have said. It was a great presentation, and it just comes through so powerfully, the teamwork. I love that you presented as a team, that you presented about your teaming approach as a team. It's really clear that social emotional learning and relationship building and community building has been central at Redwood Middle School for a long time. And not only that, but that you are constantly collaborating and working together as professionals to adjust and constantly improve. And I really appreciated the comment, Principal Christofferson, at the end, that you're recognizing that next year will represent a shift in your community, that you'll be welcoming teachers and students from River and Harvest, and that will be a shift, and that you're already thinking about how to do it mindfully and carefully, so that those communities, school within a school communities that you have so successfully implemented will be there to be welcoming, safe places for those students to land. I'm just really impressed, and thank you so much for all of your hard work and for this great presentation.
Thank you to the Redwood team. I'm trying to reserve most of my comments for a kind of a comprehensive summary at the end, but I just do want to take a quick minute because I was there yesterday and I did see Chuck, and I just want to let Chuck know that the inspiration he named is merely just a reflection in a mirror of the inspiration I gather whenever I walk onto the Redwood campus. So I want to thank you. My visit yesterday was invigorating. I appreciate Principal Christofferson for letting me hang out there. Maybe it wasn't yesterday. Was it yesterday, Marianne, or Tuesday?
I think it was yesterday.
It was yesterday. Okay, the days are long in COVID-19, but I just do want to take a quick moment. We cannot underestimate the value of having a middle school that has a legacy of teaming. Teaming is kind of a best practice that you read about in the middle school research as you think about building and redesigning schools. And it's just always such a gift to have a model or a gem that's been doing it, that's been perfecting it, refining it. And so it's really great. It's been at the core of us considering, all of the factors with the redesign post the painful, difficult process of closure, consolidation, reconfiguration. To have Redwood's teaming model is something that we can lean into as a potential replicable practice across our system in order to bring a high quality middle school experience to our students. So I want to thank everyone on the call, but I do want to appreciate Chuck was involved in the middle school process, and he brought voice to that as a best practice. And I've had the honor of working with Betsy over the course of the last 3 years. She's served on my superintendent teacher advisory, and is always a voice around the value of that model. So I did want to just kind of recognize that it's not something to take for granted. I know many superintendents who wish they had a model of teaming at the middle school level like we have well established at Redwood Middle School. So thank you very much to the team for presenting tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Massetti. So again, thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you to the board for your words. All right, take two, Principal Miller. Go ahead.
All righty, thank you. Well, good evening, President Gonzalez-Mares, Dr. Musetti, NVUSD Board of Trustees, staff and community members. I'm Susan Miller, I'm the principal of New Tech High. And right now at New Tech High, we are in full open enrollment prep mode, which probably accounts for all of my enthusiasm. The last couple of weeks, I've hosted several webinars, I've led at least 5 campus tours, and I've responded to many, many questions. So student recruitment always reminds me of just what a wonderful community New Tech High is. And I think that this presentation is well timed for us. And I'm happy that I have the opportunity to talk to all of you tonight about our wonderful school. So I'm really excited in our presentation to share with you about how our program is implementing the strategic plan of this school district, and also how we are being supported at New Tech High by the strategic plan of NVUSD. Next slide, please. So at New Tech High, our motto is trust, respect, and responsibility. We like to make sure that our students are very independent, that everything we do is student focused, and that we're able to trust them and instill these character qualities in them before they leave us. Next slide. So tonight, I'm going to focus this presentation on strategic goal 1 with particular attention in highlighting our dual enrollment, our inquiry-based instruction, our MTSS work, and our work-based learning experiences for students. Next slide. I thought this would be a great opportunity, and I wanted to begin by sharing just a little bit about the history of New Tech High, because I believe New Tech High is a school and a very special place in NVUSD that the district can be very proud of. So in 1996, NVUSD opened New Tech High as a one-to-one computer ratio school that was totally project-based and that placed an emphasis on students gaining real-world experiences. So the school was open as a completely public option for high school students. And over the past 25 years, the school has really grown and evolved. And it's actually now the flagship of a much larger network of schools. There's approximately 200 other New Tech schools in the United States and in some international locations. So I always think that the work that NVUSD started and has sustained for the past 25 years has really touched the lives of so many students across the United States and in several other countries, as well as students and families in our community. So at New Tech High, in addition to the rigorous A to G curriculum that's been identified by this Board of Education, all New Tech High students engage in some additional things. So all students engage in community service. They take at least 3 CSU or UC transferable college classes, and all of our students complete a 50 to 60 hour industry internship before they graduate. Our students report feeling safe, connected, and academically challenged at a rate of 90%. Next slide, please. So we opened this school year leaning pretty heavily on that foundation and on the relationships we build with our community and the trust, respect, and responsibility that we build in our students. And we really placed a priority and an emphasis on community and connection. And we spent the first few days of school talking about, not just coming back after school closure and the pandemic, but really, what do we want for the school year? What were our hopes and dreams for this new school year and this new opportunity that we had? So as a school, we spent those first 3 days creating a community art piece that focused on students' hopes and dreams and them capturing that in a visual manner. So you can see some examples here of what they created, and we're going to frame them nicely and hang them up on campus so students can be reminded on a continual basis of the goals they set for themselves and the hopes and dreams they had for this new school year. Next slide, please. So in order for us to kind of build on that theme and continue to make community and culture a priority at our school, we did introduce a new homeroom structure this year. So students have an opportunity twice a week to meet with their 5th period class in a homeroom environment. Those homerooms all open with a community circle. It's a routine that we've started. And then teachers build in additional connection opportunities for kids. So we hope that we can do school-wide activities during that time, allow kids to have a little safe place that they can always go, get support, get connection, know that they have people that they can trust in those homerooms. And so far, we're very, very pleased with the outcome. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about dual enrollment, and then I also have a student here this evening who's going to share their experience being a dual enrolled high school student at Napa Valley College. So we do lots of things at New Tech High to prepare students for college, but I think one of the most impactful ways that we prepare them is to actually enroll them and get them into college classes. This way they get firsthand experience of what it's like to be in a college classroom, what it feels like to work with other college students, what college level work requires of them as students, and how they can effectively engage with professors when they're in college. And we find that they do really, really great at this and succeed at a really high level. We have an amazing partnership with Napa Valley College, and we're working with them to continue to try to bring some pathways on our campus after school. Right now, we have an after school criminal justice course, which is a very popular course with our students. And we're hoping to identify some of those more popular classes that we know our students can succeed in and have them available after school. Having classes on our campus after school removes a barrier for students that could be due to transportation or proximity to the college, and to make sure that everyone at New Tech High has access to classes that they will enjoy and be able to succeed at. So as you can see here, I've shared some numbers. Even during the pandemic, we still had really large numbers of students dual enrolling at Napa Valley College. So in the spring, I think almost all classes at NVC were virtual, and we had about 50% of our students dual enrolled. Over the summer, 25% of our students were dual enrolled. And then this semester, we have about 40% of our students who are dual enrolled. So I would like to take an opportunity to introduce you to one of our students, Casey Franklin, and he is a junior at New Tech High. He's completed 3 college courses already, and he's going to share a little bit with you about his experience and what it's been like to be a high school student dual enrolled at Napa Valley College. Go ahead, Casey. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. So I think that I agree that that's probably one of the most important things when it comes to getting us ready for college. I know a lot of friends that I've talked to have taken AP classes and things like that, and I know that does give you college credits, but I truly do believe that being dual enrolled and taking high school classes while in these college classes has allowed me to kind of contrast how the college classes really work as compared to the normal classes I'm in every day at school. I have some sort of foundation on how to enroll in college classes, and then I can actually manage, after taking 3 college classes, I can manage kind of getting through those classes and the requirements of taking notes and really how to succeed in them. And I really think that's one of the most valuable things that I've learned while being enrolled in New Tech.
And I'm curious, Casey, which 3 classes have you taken?
So I think I'm actually kind of blanking on one of them. I was
That's
thinking
okay.
about it earlier, but I've taken in the introduction to anthropology, and then last semester I took over the summer. It was a college success class. So it was kind of building those types of skills.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
All right, next slide, please. So at New Tech High, we've used project-based learning as our primary model of instruction since we opened 25 years ago. And PBL provides students with not only inquiry-driven and inquiry-based learning experiences, but it allows them to make a lot of real-world connections as well. So sometimes our projects are simulations, right? Students acting as if they're scientists. We have a chemistry class researching a nuclear disaster right now, acting as investigators. Sometimes students are acting as if they're lawyers, but sometimes we're fortunate enough to find community partners, and we're able to have students engage in projects that are really happening in our community. So recently, our Spanish for Heritage speakers, students engaged in a Visible Threads project, and they were answering the driving question, how is Latino heritage woven into the fabric of American history? And I'm going to allow our student representative to share a little bit more about this project because I think it will be more impactful coming from her. But joining us tonight is 9th grader Natalia Villagomez, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her experience. Thank you, Natalia. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. For the Hispanic Heritage Month for Spanish class, we did this project, and it was really meaningful because it's something that I was able to do, and it brought really memories of when I was a little girl. I did this with my grandmother, and it was a fun experience to be able to do something with bordering, representing the Hispanic heritage in the way that we thought it was important. So I used to do this when I was a little girl with my grandmother, and I was able to actually talk with her about this project, and I was able to ask her for help on it. And I actually, after many years of not bordering with her, I was able to sit down and have a bond and bordering time with her.
Great. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you for sharing with us. So the project, each of the students in that class created a quilt square that's going to be quilted into a larger quilt and then displayed publicly. So when that is all up and finished, we'll share out with everyone how they can see the work our students did. But you can see some examples in the slide of sort of the starting of their work. We had an artist partner Zoom in with kids, teach them all about embroidery. So it was a great way for them to be involved in the community, make those adult connections, and then work on their Spanish language skills at the same time. Next slide, please. So MTSS is off to a great start for us. We're focusing this year really on building on past success that we've had. I have to say that having the ability to track interventions in areas feels like a total game changer that we're really excited about as a school community. So we're continuing to build on structures and things we've had in place in the past, and that is really supporting the work that we do. So our MTSS coordinator is here this evening to share a little bit more about with you about what's happening in MTSS this year at New Tech High. So I'm happy to introduce Abhi Dev. Abhi, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Thank you so much for having me, everyone, tonight. Yeah, we're really proud of the growth we've made as an MTSS team over the past 3 years. We've developed a really strong collaborative method with all of our team members and have solid systems in place when it comes to referrals for support, as well as feedback for teachers. And we're consistently looking at data from all of our academic attendance and mental health resources in order to inform our decision-making. This semester, we're really focused on supporting our staff with Tier 1 interventions, which are being documented as pre-referrals in our ARI system. As an MTSS team, we're reviewing this data weekly and giving feedback to our teachers and students. This initial 8-week cycle ends in the middle of November, and we're confident that the data gathered in this time will help us identify next steps and specific interventions needed for students who need more tier 2 and tier 3 supports. We're very happy with the progress, and we'll continue to systemize this process as it will help us have sufficient data to inform next steps towards an SST recommendation or anything more intensive as needed for students. And we're very excited to be able to do this in a collaborative method with our other MTSS leads across the district, especially at the secondary level. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Avi. Next slide, please. So the last thing I want to share with you tonight is about internships at New Tech High. So I often hear from alumni that one of the most impactful experiences that they have while they're in high school and while they're enrolled at New Tech High is the internships that they engage in. So tonight I have our internship coordinator here to share with you about the internships, that some of the internships that are going on right now. We were able to restart in-person internships over the summer, which was really exciting because our seniors last year, we did put together a digital package of experiences for them, but it was all web-based and Zoom-based, so it wasn't quite the same as being out with an employer. So Danielle can share a little bit with you about students who've completed internships, what we have in progress, and then the placements that we're working on. And then I have a student, Kyle Hadler, here tonight, who's going to share a little bit about the internship that he's currently engaged in. So thank you, Danielle. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Molinari, and I am the internship coordinator and a math teacher at New Tech. At our school, students complete internships as part of their graduation requirements. They give students the opportunity to explore an industry that they're interested in, set clear objectives of their learning, and develop their work-based experience. During their internship, I visit each student at their internship site to check in on their progress. Just yesterday, I was visiting 2 students, one learning to splint a pigeon at Napa Wildlife Rescue Center, and the other learning to narrow brand design options at Gato Design. In addition to these visits, students receive 2 evaluations from their mentors, although we encourage feedback during the entirety of the internship. At the end of the internship, they will share with first, second, and third year high school students about their experiences. The students that completed their internships over the summer were learning to create artificial intelligence to improve medical care time in emergency response, learning about vineyard management with fields of opportunity, and learning about parent advocacy at Parents Can. We currently have students interning across 8 different industries within our community, including but not limited to environmental impact at the Resource Conservation District, veterinary medicine at Napa Humane Society, restaurant entrepreneurship at Milestone Provisions, early childhood development at local schools, and just yesterday, a student started their internship with the NVUSD District Maintenance and Grounds team learning HVAC. These internships strengthen and build the relationships students have within our community and the businesses that support them. They consistently have a positive impact on students' lives and are a stepping stone to their future. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kyle Hadler, who can speak to his current internship that he is doing.
Hi, my name is Kyle Hadler. I'm a senior at New Tech High, and I am a pastry commise intern at the French Laundry. The internship experience for me has been amazing. They have a motto that the food that goes out is the best it could possibly be in presentation and in taste. They actively try to be the best kitchen, and they are, and I just love that experience. All the kitchen staff are the nicest people in the world. Every time a staff member leaves, you get a fist bump. They say good night, chef, to every chef. I feel so respected in their workplace. They make the greatest food possible, the greatest presentation possible again. Chef Emma, Chef Gigi, Chef Brenda are 3 amazing head chefs that I love working with. And working with Chef Christopher, Chef Lindsay, Chef Sarah, and Chef Gabrielle has been stellar. They answer all my questions. They tell me what I could be doing better. They give me advice on what recipes I need whenever I ask them to. And something that overall, it's just a wonderful educational experience. I learned how to punch donuts. I learned how to tin cookies. I learned how to make staff lunch, and I learned what tools do what. Along with those things, I learned quality assurance, which I really love, and knowing what should go out to the customer and what should not. Whenever I do not feel like I know what that is or what's okay and what's not, I just ask like co-chef, such as Chef Christopher or a pastry sous like Chef Gigi. And they tell me their own methods, which may differ from time to time, but they all have the same end result of telling me what is good and what is not. It's not just about what is edible, it's about giving the customer what they pay for and the best possible service and food. Interning has been amazing, and I think personally it's the best educational experience, not for finding what field is right for you, not just for finding what field is right for you, but also for finding what fields are not.
Great, thank you, Kyle. Kyle sometimes is around when I do school tours, and I've put him on the spot a couple times, so I know he's really passionate about that internship, and I can't wait for him to maybe make us some pastries at school. So next slide, please. So finally, I just want to conclude this today or this evening by saying thank you from the whole New Tech High community. The vision that this board and NVUSD has is not only one that supports all students in our community, but it really supports the work that's done at New Tech High. And we're really proud to be a part of this school district, and we're really proud that we can serve a unique need in our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Principal Miller. Let's start with some comments.
Well, I want Kyle Adler to make something for me like right now. But I was diligently taking notes, and then he started talking about the food, and I started wandering, you know, because my brain is interchangeable with my stomach. Thank you. And, you know, the restaurants are a very big part of our economy, and having done my share of cooking in those places, I can tell it's the hardest work. It is such hard work, but there's a lot of pride, as Mr. Adler knows, of turning out a finished superior product. And thank you very much to Principal Miller for being so exuberant and I used to work with her at Napa High, and she's always like that. And explaining to us what New Tech is all about. It's I really do think the internships are one of the great features of your school, and I love hearing about them. And I'm glad things are going so well, and people are coming over and you know, interested in signing up. And I'll be touring your school soon. I've worked with a couple of your teachers on different extracurricular projects, like, you know, the climate change, and it's a great place. So I'll be seeing you soon.
I appreciate how you celebrate your students through exposure to their community. The internships, dual enrollment, community service, and community projects all support the importance of learning, civic awareness, engagement, exposure, and perspective. So thank you very much to New Tech High School and to Principal Miller.
Trustee Chu, go ahead.
So I only have one thing to add. Do you mind sharing that quilt when it's all done? Maybe show it to us at one of our board meetings, because it looks fabulous. I just want to be able to see it in its glory, and it was a great project for your students as they come back on campus.
Yeah, agreed about the story with bonding, right? With a project like that and going along with your heritage. Mm-hmm. Any other comment?
I think just in addition to agreeing with what my fellow trustees have said, I really liked to hear that even though the school's been around for 25 years, you're still changing and refining and making things better, and that you've added that 5th period homeroom is just an example of, you know, how dynamic education is and how responsive you are to the changing times, and understanding the importance of the social emotional learning and providing your students and staff with that opportunity and that kind of safe structure, ongoing structure. I think it's a really great addition. And then I'm really a fan of that dual enrollment, and it was really interesting to hear from your students, both of those students that spoke, And I think it's really impressive the way New Tech students are taking advantage of that. I know it's part of the requirement for graduation, but I appreciated hearing from your student about how that impacted him. And I visited this year and really enjoyed Principal Miller and seeing the campus and learning more about the program. And again, it's just a really stellar presentation too.
Thank you, Trustee Reiser. Before we finish with our final comments, I do want to check for any public comment at this time. So, Mr. Michaels, do I have any raised hands or public comment?
We do not have any public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, final comments as we finish tonight's meeting of celebrating our schools and letting the team rest so they can either finish whatever they were working on before they joined us and then get ready for the end of the week tomorrow. So would you like to start that, Trustee Gracia?
Certainly. So I just want to say I appreciate all the time that was put into all the presentations tonight. It was a great opportunity to learn about what some of our schools are doing and a great chance to tell some of the positive stories that reflect the good work being done in our district. I want to thank everyone who took the opportunity to share with us tonight, and it was inspiring to see the district's annual priorities being reflected back to us in tonight's presentations.
I echo Trustee Gracia. I want to thank all the schools that presented this evening. It really is a privilege to acknowledge and celebrate the contributions and accomplishments of each and every school. And it's really valuable to see the sights through your eyes. So thank you for sharing your vision with us. And I think we all thank you for all you do for our students each and every day. Good evening.
I also am very appreciative for this opportunity. It really brings to life for me why it is that we're all here. You know, there are meetings that are on the drier side sometimes and, you know, difficult sort of business and financial related decision-making that has to happen. And it just is an incredibly powerful and affirming experience to do these. I understand that this is only the third time. I was here for the last one, but I just think I'm grateful that we are doing this because I think celebrating our schools and celebrating the hard work and creativity and leadership and professionalism and dedication and collaboration that is going on every single day on all of our campuses. It's really important. It can be easy to lose sight of that sometimes because everyone's sort of, you know, in the daily day-to-day rushing around. I mean, you know, from my 15 years of classroom teaching, I became a very, very fast walker because you never have time. You're always, you know, not rushing, but you're just always needing to be somewhere and doing something and involved, you know, with students and peers. And it's just beautiful to take a pause and celebrate all that hard work. And I wrote down some themes that were just throughout, but really it's just the professionalism, the responsiveness to students, meeting them where they are, celebrating their strengths and gifts, and just meeting them with dedication and passion for education. It just shines through in each and every one of these 7 presentations. So thank you to all the teachers and administrators and students that helped us, as Trustee Jankowicz said, see the schools through your eyes, because you know them better than we do. And it's a privilege to have the opportunity to share that with you. And thank you for sharing it with us.
Yes, and I said earlier that restaurant work is very, very hard work, and so is working in a school, teaching, running a school. And yet, Principal Miller was the last speaker, and did you hear that enthusiasm? And all the speakers were enthusiastic, and this is after, since March, that March when we decided, when we had to close schools and we really didn't see each other in person for over a year. And, yet you all, kept your spirits up, did your best for the students, and, looking on the bright side and making things happen for our students. That's what you're doing. And I really do appreciate it. And, you're making me feel energized too. So thank you.
I also echo basically everything that the trustees have said, but I also want to mention that look at the diversity of the ways that we're meeting our children's needs at all different levels. It is just amazing that you are doing this and doing it in the pandemic. So thank you. Kudos to you and your staff in all of our schools. This is one of my favorite meetings. Aside from going to graduation, this is probably the best times that, I've experienced on the school board. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I also echo, it's interesting that Trustee Chu mentions the diversity of approaches at these schools. What as humans, we're kind of wired to find patterns and things. And what I have done, this is the second time, so it's a streak, but I've tried to find a kind of common theme among all of the presentations, and nobody, I don't think that you're collaborating. It's just the theme that emerges from the work that our schools are doing. I remember the last time it was a theme about belonging, about making sure that students belonged in the campuses and the communities. And this time I really got a strong sense of empowerment, of equipping students and instilling confidence in students, in empowering students in this educational experience. And it was a thread that I saw in each of the presentations. It's not something that we directed from the top saying you need to do this. It wasn't, it's something that grew out of the work that all of these schools are doing. And I very much appreciated the approaches that each school presented today, and it's great to be a part of an organization that empowers the students in this way. So thank you.
Before we have, I know some words that Dr. Mercetti would like to share. I'll share my thoughts too. I think for me, it's just been so clear through the presentations today that we are fulfilling our purpose. Not once was it mentioned like pandemic, like it was just like, we got to do what we got to do. Despite all of these horrible, experiences that we've been enduring as a community, as a county, as a state, as a nation, and just how beautifully done it's been by all the schools. And it just makes me think, it's such a weight to carry at the school level. And there's so much more happening with our families and other systems that are impacting their livelihood. And we're just one piece, and we're responsible for so much of the education piece, but there's just so much I just can't stop thinking that's just, I wish it wasn't under our control, but it's outside of our control. And there's only so much we can do, because there's definitely families that are experiencing financial difficulties. They are experiencing difficulty putting food at the table. They have fear of immigration. They have fear of so many other things. And so it just, for what we are here for, it's just so clear how beautiful it's just been done, and the passion and dedication and just all that hard work. It's not easy. because there's just so many other things impacting all that hard work. You try so hard, but it's really, really hard to do it with everything else happening. So just thank you so much. All I'm left to say is to just describe the room. Everybody here is excited. They have smiles underneath their masks. Our alternate student board rep, I'm sure, learned a lot today about the other schools in the district. And we're just left with our hearts full in gratitude. So thank you. Oh, yes. And would you like to share some thoughts, Jimena?
Yeah, so adding on, I am absolutely amazed at all of the things that I've heard tonight. There's just so many phenomenal things going on in our schools that, like, as a high schooler, I don't hear about. Like, I don't know what Phillips is doing and what New Tech is doing. So it's really enlightening to hear all of this amazing stuff going on around me that I just wouldn't have heard about otherwise. And yeah, aside from it just being super enlightening, it's really at times like this where I take a step back and I look at it through a wider lens, and I'm just really grateful to be in the district that I'm in. So thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you so much.
I'll wrap up because I know it's teacher and principal bedtime. It's not a 9:01 here. So, but I just want to take a moment to couple the valuable sort of emotional and qualitative response that our trustees have provided, in response to the high quality work that was presented this evening. I don't want to go to the technical, but I am going to take this as a quick sort of report card moment and just recognize that back in December of 2018, the school board adopted a 6-goal-oriented strategic plan. And strategic goal number 1 is student learning, achievement, and access. And we have some key initiatives that were laid out. And I was looking at all the kind of tactics that my team and I know the instructional division in goal 1 are kind of, really teasing out in order to get implementation around our efforts in the buildings and in the classroom, so that it's not just a strategic plan that is aspirational or, sitting on the NVUSD.org, but is actually being converted to real changes and improvements in our school system for our kids. And so tonight, when I look at some of these tactics, all I heard from our principals and their teams, were implementation. We talked 3 years ago about, doing better at literacy, and you saw our elementary schools. So many of them mentioned literacy as a key tool to improving education for our youngest learners. We talked about a TK-12 diagnostic assessment system, and you heard how many of them are using the STAR assessment tool that all of you have been supporting here at the governance level. You heard, we talked about students experiencing responsive, engaging pedagogy, and you heard about all the different inquiry-based learning models that are here in NVUSD. I mean, again, it's fascinating to think that so many practices that we hear about in educational research as impactful mechanisms for teaching and learning are right here in our backyard, from IB to dual language education, to the infusion of leadership and community service, to project-based learning, SHEER being mentioned, being written up in a book, and of course I highlighted the teaming efforts at the middle school. And then we had an initiative around, we want to spend the next 3 to 5 years really focusing on our students thriving socially, emotionally, and academically. And we heard so much about MTSS, and we heard so much about our new toolbox SEL curriculum. And we hear about the redesign work that's happening at the middle school to really think about how we intentionally systematize SEL in the middle school environment, which is critical. And then we also laid out a vision for students benefiting from real world experiences. So Janine kicked us off with that, with the Whole Foods field trip. And Principal Miller, of course, we know that New Technology High School is just an exemplar in the region, state, nation for really bringing real world to the classroom and to the school. So I want to thank our principals and their teams. This is a special celebrating our schools because in all honesty, I could have probably come to the board and said, you know what, our principals are exhausted. Everyone at the school is overextended because of the operational pressures of COVID. Maybe we take the year 2 off, and these are just principals and teams, from our teachers to our support staff at all of the schools. No matter how hard it is, our building leaders and their teams across our school communities, they're just really about kids first. They put kids first, they put their school communities first, and they're willing, despite all the madness, to come to take the time to prepare these presentations. They are really overextended, and to do high quality presentations at such a time of such pressure, I think is just speaks to the quality of leadership, of teaching, and commitment that we have in our school district. So I'm really, really grateful. And then I just want to say and thank the board. I think Trustee Gracia named it, and I just want to echo it, is that amidst the strategic plan kind of, technical connections that I made, in addition to that, you as a board laid out annual priorities for this year. And I really hope you see the laser-like focus and alignment that we're witnessing in our system, because the governance team set that clear direction. And so now our staff knows what to do and what to focus on behalf of kids. And I think that alignment is incredibly powerful. So I want to thank, you can't get that in every system. And I think it speaks to the quality of our folks who do work with integrity, want to do right by kids. And this school district has an incredible growth mindset and a commitment to continuous improvement. So as opposed to resisting priorities because there's a million excuses as to why they could resist priorities, they're doing the opposite. They're queuing up to priorities, they're aligning to priorities. They see how it helps with resource management, efficiency, and effectiveness in impacting the quality of our programs, and most importantly, the educational lives of our kids. So my last little comment is I want to thank Assistant Superintendent Pat Andrew Jennings, Director Matt Manning, and Director Monica Reddy, who I know all also supported the principals in preparing high quality presentation for tonight's public consumption. So thank you, trustees.
All right, just one round of applause for everybody. And last item, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second. First by Trustee Gracia, second by Trustee Water. Student Board Rep.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain or oppose? We are adjourned. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.